Chapter 993. Not dead. At the same time, young Master Hao and Wang Yu also looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. Then, young Master Hao's face was filled with ecstasy. He hurriedly rushed to Qin Feiyang, looked up and down at Qin Feiyang, and said, "Give me a slap to see if I'm dreaming." Idiot. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes, but his heart was warm. However, Wang Yu did not stand on ceremony and slapped young Master Hao's face. "You really hit me." Young Master Hao immediately covered his face and glared at Wang Yu, grimacing in pain. "If you know the pain, then you're not dreaming," Wang Yu said, and then looked at Qin Feiyang, her eyes full of surprise. "Brother, how did you do it?" young Master Hao asked. Qin Feiyang glanced at him and did not explain. He lowered his head and scanned the mountains below again, looking for the black shadow. In fact, it was very simple. The moment he entered the forest, he hid in the castle, so the battle chi did not hit him at all. However, he could not tell young Master Hao and Wang Yu about the castle. "Who is it?" Wang Yu was also looking for the black shadow. The black shadow standing on the mountain ridge finally came back to his senses, and his eyes burst with strong killing intent. "If you're not dead, then I'll kill you again," he muttered and was about to attack. But at this moment, an astonishing emperor's might suddenly erupted from the depths of the mountain range. The black shadow's pupils shrank, and he immediately turned around and merged into the dark forest without looking back. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the other two also looked into the depths of the mountain range, their eyes full of surprise. They were very familiar with this emperor's might. It was Shen Feiyun's. Was Shen Feiyun not dead? Boom! Suddenly, they sensed that Shen Feiyun's emperor's might was soaring crazily. No way! Not only did he not die, but he also broke through. The three of them looked at each other. Sure enough, when Shen Feiyun appeared in their sight again, the aura exuding from his body was a level stronger than before. However, the injuries on his body were very serious. Not only was he missing an arm, but his body was also riddled with wounds, as if he was a bloody man. Wang Yu went up to him and said with a smile, "One who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune in the future. Big brother Shen, congratulations." Shen Feiyun stopped in midair and glanced at Wang Yu, before looking at Qin Feiyang and young Master Hao. His expression was extremely desolate. Sighing inwardly, Wang Yu consoled, "Big brother Shen, the dead cannot be brought back to life. Please restrain your grief." Shen Feiyun didn't answer. He raised his head and looked at the dark sky. He seemed to have aged several decades. After a long time, he withdrew his gaze and said, "I believe you all know what I did in Divine City back then." Qin Feiyang and the other two nodded. "Actually, I also understand that this matter is my fault. I can't blame Chief Pagoda Master in Gongsun Bay, but I just can't get over it. I didn't know how to face it either. So all these years, I drank day and night without stopping. Because only when I was drunk could I forget those things. But it was also because of this that I forgot my responsibility as a father. Ever since Longer was born, I didn't take good care of him. After a long time, he began to rebel. Even when I discovered this, I didn't restrain him, which led to today's disaster. Actually, it's all my fault. I don't deserve to be his father at all." Shen Feiyun blamed himself in pain. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other and chose to remain silent. A moment later, Shen Feiyun looked up at the three of them and smiled. "But I also have to thank you." The three of them were puzzled. Shen Feiyun said, "Because of your arrival, and also because of Longer's death, I finally woke up." Wang Yu said, "Then what do you plan to do next?" "I want to return to Divine City and make up for my past mistakes. I want to let the world know that I, Shen Feiyun, am back." Shen Feiyun looked at the night sky and muttered, his body exuding an invisible domineering aura. Wang Yu smiled in relief. She could already predict that the Divine City would soon be stirred up by Shen Feiyun's return. Shen Feiyun suddenly thought of something and looked at the three of them. "Just now, I sensed an emperor's aura here. What's going on?" Young Master Hao's eyes turned cold as he said in a deep voice, "Someone wants to assassinate Brother Mu." Shen Feiyun looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Did you offend someone?" "I've offended too many people. It's really hard to determine which clown is causing trouble in the dark. Qin Feiyang shrugged and said helplessly. However, the three of them did not notice that there was a glimmer of light in the depths of his eyes. Clown? Shen Feiyun's face twitched. The other party was a dignified combat emperor, but he was called a clown. This young man was too unique. Wait for me. Shen Feiyun closed his eyes and carefully sensed. A moment later, he opened his eyes and said, within 100 miles other than the aura of ferocious beasts, I didn't sense anyone else's aura. They should have already left. Young Master Hao and Wang Yu both heaved a sigh of relief. Shen Feiyun said, all right, I still have to go and bury Long. You guys be careful. Okay. The three of them nodded. After Shen Feiyun opened the portal and left, young Master Hao immediately looked at Qin Feiyang and frowned. Brother, why do I suddenly feel that I can't see through you? Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat, and he asked in confusion. What do you mean? Not only can you refine a magical pill like the Juku Yellow Dragon pill, but you can also escape safely from the assassination of a combat emperor. This is not something an ordinary person can do, young Master Hao said. Cough cough. Hearing young Master Hao mention the Juku Yellow Dragon pill, Qin Feiyang hurriedly coughed to remind him. However, young Master Hao only realized later that he had let it slip after saying it. Without a doubt, Wang Yu heard it. What is it? You refine the Juku Yellow Dragon pill. She stared at Qin Feiyang in surprise. It's all your fault for talking too much. Qin Feiyang glared at young Master Hao and was extremely annoyed. Young Master Hao turned his head and looked away guiltily, as if he didn't know him. Don't try to divert my attention. Tell me, did you refine it or not? Wang Yu asked. So what if I refined it? Qin Feiyang glanced at her and said lightly, oh my god. Wang Yu immediately seemed to have discovered a new world, and her beautiful eyes shone. Qin Feiyang looked at her eyes and felt uncomfortable all over. Suddenly, Wang Yu smiled and patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder meaningfully. She said with a smile, you hit it well. Not bad, not bad. After saying that, she flew in the direction of Qinghai City. Sister, wait for me. Young Master Hao hurriedly chased after her. He was afraid that Qin Feiyang would continue to blame him. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yu's back and frowned. For some reason, when he saw the smile on Wang Yu's face, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. Suddenly, his eyes flashed, and he said loudly to the two of them, I have something to do and have to leave for a while. Let's meet at the city gate later. You have something to do? Wang Yu and Qin Feiyang were stunned. They quickly stopped in the void and turned to ask Qin Feiyang. However, when they turned around, they discovered that there was no trace of Qin Feiyang. Where is he? How did he disappear in the blink of an eye? As they scanned the empty space, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. In the castle, Qin Feiyang stood in the center of the castle with his head lowered and his eyes flickering. Lu Hong had also woken up from her cultivation and was thinking about something. Suddenly, Lu Hong's eyes lit up. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, the person who attacked you is actually very easy to guess. Really? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked up at Lu Hong with interest and said with a faint smile, tell me about it. You have indeed offended a lot of people in the Forgotten Continent, but the people you have offended with your identity of Ancestor Mu can be counted on one hand. Let me think. It seems that other than Fu Anshan, the Scorpion tribe, there is only the Qilin tribe. And Fu Anshan is definitely impossible, because if it was him, he wouldn't just watch Fu Xiong being killed by Shen Feiyun. The Scorpion tribe is even more impossible, because the people of the Scorpion tribe are all dead. Then only the Qilin tribe is left. Lu Hong smiled. This little girl is really getting smarter and smarter. Qin Feiyang muttered. What Lu Hong said was basically the same as what he thought. After thinking about it, Qin Feiyang asked, then is it possible that it's someone from the Mu family? Are you testing me on purpose? Of course it's impossible. If it was really them, they would have already made a move on you when they got the scorpion flame. Lu Hong frowned her beautiful eyebrows, expressing her dissatisfaction. Qin Feiyang laughed. Not bad. Next time when I let you go out alone, I can rest assured. I can already take care of myself, okay? Lu Hong pouted her red lips, looking quite charming. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed, then turned around and took out the image crystal. Wu Yang's shadow quickly condensed. Although they were in the castle, because Qin Feiyang deliberately changed the direction, Wu Yang could only see one side of the castle wall. Qin Feiyang didn't waste time and directly said, "Immediately go and investigate whether or not your tribe has people who left today." Wu Yang's expression was confused. "Why do you want to investigate this? Moreover, there are more than 1 million people in my tribe. Who knows how many people go out and come back and go out? How do you want to investigate? There's no need to investigate the others. Just investigate those above the combat emperor level. As for the reason, I'll tell you later." Qin Feiyang said, "If it's just investigating those above the combat emperor level, then it's much simpler. Give me a day. After I've finished investigating, I'll send you a message." Wu Yang said, "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded, then turned off the image crystal and sent a message to Yen Wei. After the shadow appeared, Yen Wei immediately asked, "Was the journey smooth?" "There were some accidents, but it's been resolved." Qin Feiyang smiled, then his face became serious and said, "There's something, help me pay more attention to it." "Speak." Yen Wei said. Qin Feiyang said, "I'm worried that Fu Anshan might harm Li He, so pay more attention in the future." "Harm Li He, would he dare?" Yen Wei was surprised. There's nothing that some people don't dare to do after losing their minds. Qin Feiyang sneered. Yen Wei's pupils contracted, and he nodded. "Okay, I'll pay more attention. Then I'll leave it to you." Chapter 994. In fact, he could directly open the portal and go to the city gate to meet Mr. Hao and Mr. Wang. He did that because he wanted to see if he could lure the Black Shadow out. But it ended in disappointment. The Black Shadow didn't appear again until he arrived above the city gate. In front of the city gate, Mr. Hao and Wang Yuer stood side by side. Mr. Hao's black hair was fluttering in the wind. Wang Yuer was beautiful. Her clothes were fluttering, and her hair was dancing in the wind. The two of them were like a beautiful scenery in the dark night. Swish! Qin Feiyang flashed and landed in front of them. "Greetings, Mr. Hao." The guards who were guarding the city immediately bowed and saluted. Their expressions were also extremely respectful. Obviously, Shen Feiyin had already greeted them. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at Mr. Hao and Mr. Wang, and asked, "Did the person who attacked me appear again?" Mr. Hao shook his head. Qin Feiyang sighed. "It seems that we have to be extra careful on the way." Wang Yuer said, "It's you who should be careful, not us. Don't confuse us." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Who said not long ago that we are a team and should work together? Did someone say that?" Wang Yuer pretended to be confused, looked at Mr. Hao and asked, "Did you say that?" Mr. Hao's face darkened, and he said, "You can quarrel if you want, but don't drag me into it. Right now, I feel like a third wheel sandwiched between the two of you." "What do you mean?" A trace of anger rose in Wang Yuer's eyes. "See for yourself." Mr. Hao turned his head away, looking very unhappy. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead with a helpless expression on his face. With this woman around, it seemed that he would not be able to have a quiet time on the way. Whoosh! Taking a deep breath, Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and said, "Cut the crap. Shall we go directly to Qinghai, or rest in the city for a night?" Mr. Hao thought for a while and said secretly, "I think it's better to go during the day. After all, we don't know where the person who attacked you is hiding. If we rush to Qinghai at night, I'm afraid that we may be attacked by him on the way." "That makes sense." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. "Then let's rest in Azure Sea City for the night, and depart tomorrow morning. Let's go." The two of them immediately walked into the city. Sneak attack. Behind him, Wang Yuer glanced at the dim night sky. With a cold light flashing in her eyes, she turned around and followed him slowly. The night passed in silence. The next day early morning, the sun slowly rose from the horizon and spread its rays over the earth, dispelling the lingering chill of the night. Qin Feiyang and the other two left Azure Sea City early and flew towards Azure Sea. Along the way, there were mountains and rivers as far as the eye could see. The ferocious beasts were densely packed, and their cultivations were not weak. They would encounter a few battle saint-level vicious beasts every now and then. But Qin Feiyang and the other two were not weak either. Wang Yue was a 9-star battle saint. These ferocious beasts naturally posed no threat to them. And the three of them arrived at the Blue Sea without a hitch. The coastline stretched as far as the eye could see. At this moment, there were many people gathered on the beach. There were old and young, strong and weak. They were all adventurers in Qinghai. Some of them sat cross-legged on the ground and closed their eyes to rest. Some of them gathered in 2s and 3s to discuss the various secrets of Qinghai. When Qin Feiyang looked at the surface of the sea, a hint of astonishment immediately appeared on his face. The blue sea was sparkling and extremely calm. It was completely different from what he had imagined. The azure sea he had imagined was full of raging winds and turbulent waves. But now, the azure sea in front of him was so quiet and peaceful. He could not feel any danger at all. This is just the outer sea. There is no danger here. The real danger is in the inner sea. And there are rumors that the end of the inner sea is connected to the endless sea. As if seeing Qin Feiyang's doubts, Wang Yue explained in a somewhat solemn tone. The endless sea. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. It was not the first time he had heard of the endless sea. Young Master Hao asked curiously, Sister, is the endless sea really as terrible as the rumors say? I've never been there, so I don't know. But those rumors should not be groundless. Wang Yue said. Young Master Hao looked at the vast sea with a yearning face and said, I really want to see it if I have the chance. Hey, I won't stop you if you want to go, as long as you're not afraid of death. Wang Yue smirked. Humph. Young Master Hao raised his middle finger with a disdainful face. Do you know what you're thinking now? Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Wang Yue rolled her eyes at him, then looked at the end of the sea and said, It's still early. Let's try to enter the inner sea before dark. Let's go. Whoosh! The three of them immediately turned into a stream of light and flew toward the sea. Someone's coming. The people gathered at the seaside all sensed the aura of Qin Feiyang and the other two, and they all looked up at the three of them. Aren't they the three people who killed young Master Long yesterday? They actually came to Qinghai. Qinghai City was not far from here. And the people here were basically people near Qinghai City, so they had already received the news not long after the incident yesterday. Similarly, the news of Fu Xiong's death had also spread. However, as for why Fu Xiong had died, no one had figured it out yet, because Shen Feiyun did not deliberately explain the reason to the public. Maybe he didn't want to explain, or maybe it was because he couldn't get over this hurdle in his heart. After all, no matter what, young Master Long did die in the hands of these three people. It was also because of Shen Feiyun's silence that the people here found it difficult to make a decision. On one hand, they wanted to take down Qin Feiyang and the other two, and bring them to the city lord's mansion to receive the reward. But on the other hand, they received another piece of news last night. Some guards of the city lord's mansion privately told others that for some reason, these three people suddenly became the city lord's distinguished guests. This made them very confused. What in the world had happened here? Swoosh! Just as Qin Feiyang and the other two were flying over the beach, an old man with white hair and a white beard suddenly opened his eyes and sized up Qin Feiyang and the other two. He flew up and stood in front of the three. The old man's cultivation was at the level of a 2-star battle saint. He stroked his white beard and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two, and asked with a smile, My three little friends, where are you going? His expression looked very friendly. Qin Feiyang and the other two stopped in the void. Hello, elder. Wang Yue bowed politely and then replied, The three of us are going to the Blue Sea. The Blue Sea? My three little friends, the Blue Sea is not a good place. You have such high cultivation at such a young age. And I believe that your talents are not bad. So it's better not to go there, lest you lose your life. The white-haired old man kindly advised them. Wang Yue smiled and said, Thank you for your concern, elder. We have something to do and have to go there. In that case, I won't persuade you anymore. You have to be careful. The white-haired old man chuckled and returned to the beach, continuing to rest with his eyes closed. Young Master Hao glanced at the white-haired old man, and then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, The outside world is not as cruel as you said. There are more good people. Good people? Qin Feiyang looked at the white-haired old man, and an imperceptible light flashed in his eyes. He murmured, maybe. Young Master Hao did not notice this slight abnormality. He looked at Wang Yuer and said, Sister, they have been exploring here all year round. Maybe they know the location of the 7th grade alchemy fire. Why don't we ask them? That's right. Wang Yuer's eyes lit up and she urged, go and ask. Young Master Hao was about to go down. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang pulled him back and said with a smile, let me go. Isn't it the same if you go and I go? Young Master Hao looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang did not explain further. He landed in front of the white-haired old man, cupped his hands and said with a smile, may I know your name, elder? The white-haired old man opened his eyes and chuckled. I'm just a nobody, not worth mentioning. What's the matter, my little friend? Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, nothing. I just want to ask you, elder. Has anything big happened in the Blue Sea recently? Big things. The white-haired old man was stunned. He lowered his head and muttered to himself. Qin Feiyang was not in a hurry. He carefully paid attention to the white-haired old man's expression. At the same time, he was also paying attention to the people around the white-haired old man. Gradually he found out. Although these people were cultivating with their eyes closed, there was a trace of vigilance between their brows, as if they were guarding against something. Moreover, whether it was their temperament or appearance, they were very ordinary, and their cultivation was not very good. They were basically between the 5-star and 9-star battle masters. But Qin Feiyang felt that this group of people, and the others on the beach, had an atmosphere that was out of place. Something's wrong. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. When he looked at the white-haired old man before, he felt that something was wrong. This was not intuition. It was experience. All these years he had been fighting and scheming with others. Even he himself could not remember how many life and death tribulations he had experienced. Therefore, he was extremely sensitive to the sense of crisis. Although the white-haired old man was a 2-star battle saint, he gave him an inexplicable sense of crisis. This obviously did not make sense, because although he was a 1-star battle saint, it was easy for him to kill a 2-star battle saint with his means. Therefore he stopped young Master Hao and took the initiative to come down. He wanted to personally explore the white-haired old man's background. And this trip was really not in vain. After a while, the white-haired old man looked up at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile. This old man carefully thought about it. Recently, nothing particularly important happened in Qinghai. Thank you, old man. Goodbye. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. He did not continue to ask. He soared into the sky and landed beside young Master Hao and shook his head at them. Wang Yuer frowned and said, it seems that we have to enter the inland sea to find out. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Whoosh. The three of them cut through the sky and quickly entered the sea. Soon they disappeared at the end of the sea. Soon, the white-haired old man opened his eyes again and looked at the end of the sea. He got up and said with a smile, let's go. I hope we can gain something in Qinghai. Swish. Immediately, the people around him opened their eyes and followed the white-haired old man to the sea. Including the white-haired old man, there were a total of 36 people. At the same time, above the deep sea, Qin Feiyang and the other two were flying as fast as lightning. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang stopped. What's the matter? Wang Yuer and young Master Hao turned to look at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, it suddenly occurred to me that I have something to deal with. You go first. I'll catch up with you later. Something else? Wang Yuer frowned and said angrily, why do you have so many things to do? Why do you say that I'm a busy man? Well, I'll go first. Be careful. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and turned around to go back. Bastard. Wang Yuer gritted her teeth and stared at Qin Feiyang's back. Young Master Hao looked thoughtful. He suddenly turned to look at Wang Yuer and said with a frown, Sister, why do I feel that this guy seems to be hiding something from us on purpose? It's not as if there is something that he doesn't want us to know. Wang Yuer snorted and turned to continue walking. What kind of person are you? Why can't I see through you? Chapter 995. And then there was Qin Feiyang. Along the way, his eyes were flashing with thoughts. About 10 breaths passed. Suddenly, his pupils shrank. He quickly restrained his aura and hid in the sea below. After a while, dozens of figures passed through the sky in a grandiose manner. The leader was the white-haired old man. After the group of people went away, Qin Feiyang came out of the sea and stood in the air, looking at the back of the white-haired old man, his eyes flickering. Then, he turned around and sped away. Soon, he came to the sky above the beach again. Why did you come back? The people on the beach stared at Qin Feiyang in confusion. Swish! Qin Feiyang landed in front of a young man and said with a smile, "Brother, I have a question to ask you." The young man thought that Qin Feiyang was going to harm him, so he was quite nervous. But when he heard that he had a question, he was relieved. "What question?" the young man asked. Qin Feiyang said, "Do you know the white-haired old man who talked to me just now?" "I don't know." The young man shook his head. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked again, "When did he come here?" "I don't know, because when I came, he was already here." The young man said, "Then when did you come?" Qin Feiyang said. The young man said, "Before dawn." Qin Feiyang frowned. The young man's answer was worthless. "I know when he came." But at this moment a hoarse voice sounded. Qin Feiyang looked at the voice and saw an old man in red sitting in the crowd not far away. He looked old, but his eyes were extremely sharp. And if one looked carefully, one would find that his left hand was empty. It was obviously a broken arm. Moreover, Qin Feiyang could not see through the aura of the one-armed old man. Qin Feiyang raised a trace of vigilance in his heart. He strode forward and said with a smile, "Please tell me the truth." The one-armed old man said, "They came last night around dawn." "Midnight?" Qin Feiyang narrowed his eyes and asked, "Then may I ask if you've seen them in Qinghai before?" This old man can confirm that there is absolutely no such thing, because this old man has been in Qinghai for many years. Anyone who has been here will have an impression of me. The one-armed old man said, "Thank you, elder. This is a small token of appreciation from this junior. Please kindly accept it." Qin Feiyang took out a regeneration pill and handed it to the one-armed old man. The one-armed old man looked at the regeneration pill with a hint of surprise in his eyes. It was actually a regeneration pill with 4 pill veins. However, the one-armed old man didn't reach out to take it. He smiled and said, "For some reason, this old man's severed arm can no longer be regenerated. However, I still have to thank little brother for his kind intentions." Unable to regenerate? Qin Feiyang looked at the one-armed old man's left arm in surprise. "Little friend, do you have any other questions?" The one-armed old man asked with a smile. "No." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Thinking about it, it made sense. The one-armed old man's strength was even stronger than his. The regeneration pill was nothing for the old man. If it could be regenerated, the old man would have used the regeneration pill to regenerate it. Then, he put away the regeneration pill and was about to leave. The one-armed old man suddenly said, "Little brother, wait a moment." "What's the matter, elder?" Qin Feiyang looked back at the one-armed old man. The one-armed old man said, "This old man wants to give you a piece of advice. After entering the inland sea, you must be careful of the 10 heroes of Qinghai." 10 heroes of Qinghai? Qin Feiyang was stunned. What the hell was this? You don't even know the 10 heroes of Qinghai. It seems that this is your first time in Qinghai. The 10 heroes of Qinghai are 10 people. Each of them has great talent, and is the invincible king of the younger generation in the inland sea. As for their detailed information, it's not convenient for me to say more. You can take your time to find out. The one-armed old man said, "Thank you, old man. I'll pay more attention." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and thanked him. Then he glanced at the others on the beach, only to find that they were all very afraid when they heard the name of the 10 heroes of Qinghai. It seemed that the so-called 10 heroes of Qinghai were indeed not simple people. Then Qin Feiyang didn't stay any longer. He cupped his hands and said goodbye to the one-armed old man. Then he turned around and disappeared at the end of the sea. What an interesting little guy. The one-armed old man looked in the direction where Qin Feiyang disappeared. There was a strange light in his old eyes. On the other side, Young Master Hao and Wang Yu are also found an island. The island was not big, about half a mile. There were no plants on it, only bare rocks, which had been eroded by the sea all year round, and were full of holes. Young Master Hao said, "Sister, why don't we go to the island and wait for him? Do you know when he will come back? It's a waste of time to wait for him." Wang Yu snorted and flew straight over the island. Young Master Hao glanced at the island and had to follow her helplessly. When did such a beautiful little girl come to Qinghai? However, at this moment, a surprised voice sounded somewhere on the island. "Someone is here?" Wang Yu and Young Master Hao looked at each other and stopped. They lowered their heads and looked in the direction of the voice. Immediately, their pupils shrank. They saw a young man sitting cross-legged on a rock in the center of the island. The young man was about 25 or 26 years old. He was about 1.8 meters tall. His upper body was naked, revealing 8 pectoral muscles. He only wore a pair of large underpants. His skin was bronze. His body was not very strong, but it was full of an amazing aura. Young Master Hao asked through sound transmission, "Sister, what's his cultivation?" 9-star battle saint. Wang Yu whispered. This, Young Master Hao was dumbfounded. This man seemed to be about the same age as him. How could he be so powerful? Swish. The young man sized up Young Master Hao and Wang Yu. He suddenly stood up and landed in front of them. "Little beauty, this young master has taken a liking to you. Have some fun with this young master." He stared at Wang Yu without scruples. The possessiveness in his eyes was undisguised. Young Master Hao was stunned. There must be something wrong with this man's brain. Others would avoid this little she-devil as soon as they saw her. How dare this man take the initiative to provoke her? It seemed that there would be a good show. As expected, Wang Yu was angry at the young man's frivolous words and attitude. Boom! The coercion of a 9-star battle saint suddenly erupted. She took a step forward and reached out her hand to slap the young man angrily. You're also a 9-star battle saint?" The young man was surprised, but his action was not slow at all. He quickly dodged to the side and avoided Wang Yu's slap. Then he reached out his hand and grabbed Wang Yu's wrist. Feeling her soft skin, the young man's heart skipped a beat. He chuckled and said, "What a seductive little fox. If you talk nonsense again, I'll tear your mouth." Wang Yu's eyes turned cold. Her arm shook violently and her battle chi surged, shaking the young man away. "I haven't met such a hot-tempered little beauty for a long time. I like it. From now on, you are Young Master's woman. Come into Young Master's embrace." The young man opened his hands and laughed evilly. "You're playing with fire." Young Master Hao muttered and glanced at Wang Yu, only to see her face as cold as ice. But suddenly, she flashed a smile that was full of charm. The young man couldn't help but be fascinated by her. "Do you really like me?" Wang Yu looked at the young man and asked with a smile, her eyes rippling with autumn light. "Yes." The young man nodded. Wang Yu said, "Then are you willing to do something for me? Not to mention one thing. I can do 100 things for you." The young man said with rapid breathing. In his eyes, Wang Yu at this moment exuded a fatal temptation. A sly look flashed across Wang Yu's eyes. She said, "Take off your pants and run around the sea naked." "Run around naked?" Young Master Hao was shocked. But Wang Yu's voice seemed to contain an irresistible charm. The young man really took off his pants and ran past the two of them without looking back. However, when the young man took off his pants, Wang Yu also looked away. Young Master Hao looked at the young man's naked back and couldn't help but twitch his face. He turned to look at Wang Yu and said, "Sister, aren't you a little immoral?" "Immoral?" Chapter 996. Following closely, the young man suddenly turned around, grabbed Qin Feiyang's clothes and roared, "Where's my big underwear? How would I know where your big underwear is?" Qin Feiyang pushed him away and rolled his eyes. It seemed that this person was really sick, and quite sick at that. It was better not to provoke sick people. Qin Feiyang prepared to leave, but the young man grabbed him again and said angrily, "Don't even think about leaving if you don't explain yourself." "Who did I offend? You ran naked yourself, and now you're asking me, are you really sick?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. "I ran naked myself." The young man was stunned for a moment, then said angrily, How can there be a person in this world who runs naked? Aren't you one? Qin Feiyong said weakly. The young man was at a loss for words. To be exact, he had not recovered yet. Try to recall what happened, Qin Feiyong said. The young man lowered his head and fell into deep thought. But his big hand was firmly holding on to Qin Feiyong. It seemed that he was not prepared to let Qin Feiyong leave until he figured it out. There's a woman. Suddenly, the young man's body trembled, and a shocking cold light emerged in his eyes. Woman. Qin Feiyong was startled, and a beautiful figure involuntarily appeared in his mind and asked, "What woman?" "A pretty woman. With the cultivation of a 9-star war saint, I have full confidence in taking her down." But her voice seemed to have a kind of magic. "She told me to run naked, and I actually started to run naked," the young man said. "It can't really be that little demoness, right?" Qin Feiyong muttered to himself, then glanced at a certain part of the young man, and coughed dryly. "Shouldn't you put on a pair of pants first?" "Ah!" the young man screamed, and only now did he realize that he was still naked. He instinctively reached out to touch the Cosmos bag, but found that it was also gone. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyong looked at him suspiciously. The young man said awkwardly, "My Qinquan bag was tied to the underwear from before. I think it was thrown away together." "I really admire you." Qin Feiyong looked at the sky, speechless. He took out a new set of clothes from his Qinquan bag and threw it to the young man. The young man didn't say anything and quickly put it on. Only then did he feel a lot more comfortable. Subsequently, he looked at Qin Feiyong and said with an embarrassed smile, "I misunderstood you just now. Please forgive me." "I'm fine." Qin Feiyong waved his hand and asked curiously, "What does that woman look like? Why are you so infatuated?" The young man was furious. With a wave of his hand, his battle chi surged and formed a figure in the void. "It really is her," Qin Feiyong whispered as he looked at the young man with a hint of schadenfreude in his eyes. Without a doubt, this man must have taken the initiative to provoke Wang Yu and completely infuriated her. Otherwise, Wang Yu wouldn't have used her charming skill. Hearing Qin Feiyong's whisper, the young man asked suspiciously, "Brother, do you know her too?" "Yes." Qin Feiyong nodded vaguely. "Then the next time you meet her, you have to be careful, lest you end up like me. It's really embarrassing." The young man was furious. "I will. Are you going to get even with her now? Or?" Qin Feiyong asked calmly. "Nonsense. Of course I'm going to get even with her. How dare she make me run naked? In the future, she won't have a good life in Qinghai." The young man snorted through his nose, and his eyes were as sharp as a blade. Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank. This man's aura was unfathomable, and his character was so domineering. It seemed that he was not a simple character. The young man said, "By the way, brother, I haven't asked your name." "Wang Shan." Qin Feiyong made up a name casually. "What a coincidence. My surname is also Wang, and my name is Wang Zicheng. It seems that we are destined." The young man smiled in surprise. "Yes, it's quite destined." Qin Feiyong nodded unnaturally. "What the hell? I just thought of a name casually, and I actually met someone with the same surname." Wang Zicheng smiled and asked, "Brother, what are you doing in Qinghai? I don't think I've seen you before." "It's my first time here, and I want to go to the inland sea to have a look," Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Wang Zicheng nodded and said enthusiastically, "That's great. I'm going to the inland sea too. Why don't we go together?" "Go together?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and said, "Aren't you going to find that woman? I think she's going to the inland sea, so there's no hurry. We'll meet sooner or later. At that time, I'll make her submit to my obscene power." Wang Zicheng snorted coldly. Qin Feiyong smiled and nodded. "Well, thank you for taking care of me along the way, Brother Wang. It's fate that we meet. Why are you so polite?" Wang Zicheng said with dissatisfaction. Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and said with a smile. Then the two of them chatted as they flew into the depths of the sea. Wang Zicheng was very talkative, and he was born to be familiar with others. Soon, he and Qin Feiyong became brothers. Suddenly, Wang Zicheng asked, "Brother, what do you think of that woman?" "Which woman?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. "The woman who tricked me," Wang Zicheng said. She's not bad. Qin Feiyong thought for a while and said, "That's not bad. Brother, you're a bit picky. Let me tell you, it's hard to see a beauty like her in Qinghai." Wang Ziqing said with a smile. Qin Feiyong was stunned and asked, "Brother Wang, do you know Qinghai very well?" "Of course. I'm not bragging, but there's nothing I don't know in Qinghai," Wang Ziqing said proudly. Qin Feiyong's heart skipped a beat, but he pretended to doubt and asked, "Really?" "Of course, why would I lie to you? Now I'll tell you a secret that you don't know." "No, not only you don't know. Even in the entire Central Divine Kingdom, few people know this secret," Wang Ziqing said mysteriously. "What secret?" Qin Feiyong was surprised. Wang Ziqing glanced around and said in a low voice, "A cluster of 7th-grade elixir fire was born in the inland sea." Qin Feiyong's expression went blank as he asked in surprise, "Really?" "It's absolutely true. And I know the location of the 7th-grade elixir fire. To tell you the truth, I went to the inland sea this time for the 7th-grade elixir fire," Wang Ziqing said with a smile. "You actually know the location?" Qin Feiyong's eyes lit up. It was true that he had searched high and low for it, but found it without any effort. However, he didn't rush to ask about the location of the elixir fire, but asked, "Brother Wang, are you an alchemist?" "No." Wang Ziqing shook his head. "Then what do you want the elixir fire for?" Qin Feiyong was suspicious. "Of course, to collect it. After all, it's a 7th-grade elixir fire. It's completely worth collecting. And if I don't rob it, it will definitely fall into the hands of those people. I don't want them to get it." Wang Ziqing pursed his lips. "Who are those people?" Qin Feiyong asked. "I'll answer this question later." Wang Ziqing smiled mysteriously, then looked down and said, "Here we are. I met that woman here." Qin Feiyong looked down and saw an island sitting on the sea ahead. "Wait for me. I'll look for my Qianquan bag." After Wang Ziqing finished speaking, he dived into the island and looked around. "Wang Ziqing." Qin Feiyong looked at the young man with an inexplicable light in his eyes. "Found it." A moment later, Wang Ziqing finally found the big pants and the Qianquan bag in a crack of a stone. Then, he flew to the front of Qin Feiyong and rejoiced. "Fortunately, they didn't pick it up, or I would have lost a lot." Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "So there are a lot of treasures in Brother Wang's Qianquan bag. I've been living here since I was a child, and Qinghai is rich in resources, plus there are many relics, so there are naturally many treasures." Wang Ziqing smiled proudly. "You've been living in Qinghai since you were a child?" Qin Feiyong was surprised. "There's nothing to be surprised about. In addition to me, there are many people here who were born and grew up in Qinghai. Although Qinghai is also a part of the Central Divine Kingdom, it is a world of its own. In short, the people and things in Qinghai will be beyond your imagination," Wang Ziqing said. Qin Feiyong asked, "Then Brother Wang, have you been to the Divine City?" "I've heard of it, but I've never been there. When I have time in the future, I'll go and take a look." Speaking of this, Wang Ziqing was slightly stunned, then looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "You're not from the Divine City, are you?" "No, but I've stayed in the Divine City." Qin Feiyong nodded. Wang Ziqing suddenly became interested and said, "Then tell me, what's so fun in the Divine City?" "Okay, let's talk as we walk." Qin Feiyong nodded. The two of them talked and laughed. After traveling for about a dozen miles, Qin Feiyong suddenly raised his eyebrows, stopped, and looked at the sea a few miles ahead. On the surface of the sea, there was another small island, which was also completely bare. And on one of the huge rocks, dozens of figures stood. The leader was the old man in white. The old man with white hair looked at the sea in front of him, frowning. No one knew what he was thinking. The others also had rather irritated looks on their faces. They were facing the depths of the sea, and had not found Qin Feiyong and Wang Ziqing. Seeing this, Wang Ziqing also stopped, looked at the old man in white and the others suspiciously, then looked at Qin Feiyong and asked in a low voice, "Brother, do you know them?" "I've met them." Qin Feiyong nodded. His face was a little solemn. The reason for that was because that sense of crisis had appeared once again. Suddenly, he withdrew his gaze, looked at Wang Ziqing and said, "Brother Wang, we may have to part ways." "What's wrong? Are they your enemies?" Wang Ziqing asked. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, I don't know now, but I feel very uneasy. I don't know what you're worried about. Besides, don't you still have me? Don't be afraid. If they really dare to harm you, I'll kill them all. A cold light flashed in Wang Ziqing's eyes as he forcefully swept up Qin Feiyang and flew towards the island without hiding his aura. They're not simple, don't be rash. Qin Feiyang's expression changed as he hurriedly said. However, it was too late. Chapter 997. When he saw Qin Feiyang, the white-clothed old man's eyes flashed with a cold light, but he concealed it in an instant. Whoosh! Immediately after, he soared into the air and flew towards Qin Feiyang. The others also followed behind the white-clothed old man, with a trace of killing intent hidden in their eyes. The situation is not good, Qin Feiyang muttered. The sense of crisis in his heart grew stronger and stronger. Finally, both sides met. The white-haired old man and his group formed a line, blocking in front of the two. Wang Ziqing frowned, stopped in the air and said, What do you want to do? The white-haired old man looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously, and then looked at Qin Feiyang and laughed. I didn't expect to meet you so soon. It seems that we are quite fated. Is that so? But why do I feel that this is not fate, but deliberate? Qin Feiyang said. The white-haired old man's pupils shrank slightly, and he said suspiciously, Little friend, why can't this old man understand what you mean? Do you not understand, or are you pretending to be confused? Qin Feiyang asked. The group of people around the white-haired old man looked at each other, listening to the meaning of these words. Could it be that this child had already seen through their killing intent? But that shouldn't be the case. Ever since they met this child, they had not revealed any flaws. The white-haired old man was also very surprised. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, I don't have time to play with you, just say it, who are you? The white-haired old man's face was gloomy. Haha, suddenly, he laughed out loud, and his temperament changed drastically. The amiable look between his brows disappeared, and was filled with an astonishing murderous aura. The dozens of people next to him also changed their appearance, and their aura was fierce. Qin Feiyang's heart sank. There was indeed something wrong with these people. Suddenly, the white-clothed old man stopped laughing, and looked at Qin Feiyang. As expected of the person valued by the chief pagoda master, you were able to detect it so quickly. Someone valued by the chief pagoda master. Wang Ziqing was shocked. Who would have thought that this brother he had just met would have such a great background? The old man in white continued. But this old man is very curious. How exactly did you see through it? You were able to hide it from young Master Hao and the others, because they rarely travel outside. They don't know how sinister people can be. But I've been wandering the world since I was young. No matter what, I've encountered all kinds of people. That little trick of yours is nothing at all. Qin Feiyang sneered. The old man in white was stunned for a moment before he nodded and smiled. The two of them have been living like princes, so they can't be compared to you. I have another question. Where did you go just now? Qin Feiyang said. Let's go back to the beach and ask about your situation. I see. No wonder you appeared behind us. I have to admit that you are a very outstanding young man. If it weren't for the orders from above, I really wouldn't be willing to kill you. The old man in white said with a smile. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Who are the people above? Were you the one who ambushed me last night? Wait until you go to hell. Someone will tell you the answer. The old man in white smiled coldly. He then looked at Wang Ziqing and said, This has nothing to do with you. Leave immediately. Wang Ziqing smiled playfully and said, What if I don't leave? Then you'll die with him. Attack! The old man in white was filled with murderous intent. Whoosh! Instantly, the dozens of people around him moved in unison, surrounding Qin Feiyang and Wang Ziqing in the middle. Wang Ziqing swept his gaze across those people. There was deep disdain in his eyes as he said, With just the few of you? To him, crushing a group of combat masters was no different from crushing a group of ants. Bang! However, before he finished his words, the dozens of people's aura suddenly erupted. The aura of a combat master rapidly soared to that of a combat sage, and did not stop there. 1 star, 5 star, 7 star, 8 star. In the end, Everyone's aura actually stopped at 9-star combat sage. This, Wang Ziqing was dumbfounded. 1, 2, 3. There were actually a total of 35 combat sages. Qin Feiyang was also dumbfounded. He had already expected that these people had hidden their cultivation, but he never expected that they were all 9-star combat sages. In that case, wouldn't that white-haired old man be even stronger? After Wang Ziqing came back to his senses, his expression was extremely ugly. He said in shock and anger, "Brother, you didn't tell me this. Before this, I didn't know their true cultivation, but I warned you not to underestimate them. You were the one who didn't listen." Qin Feiyang said in a low voice. Wang Ziqing was also very regretful. But now it was too late to regret. Boom! Suddenly, he turned around and punched the two burly men behind him. His battle aura surged and shook the sky. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that these people had not reacted to take the initiative to launch an attack and quickly create a gap. But obviously, he had underestimated these people. The old man in white waved his hand and shouted, "Leave no one alive." The 35 people surrounding Qin Feiyang and Wang Ziqing actually all attacked in an instant. Rumble, crash, crack. Streaks of battle aura surged out and roared in the sky, surrounding Qin Feiyang and Wang Ziqing. The calm sea suddenly tumbled and white waves surged to the sky. The island below was instantly shattered and turned into nothingness. Oh no! Wang Ziqing's expression changed greatly. If there were only 1 or 2 9-star combat sages, he was confident that he could kill his way out. But if 35 9-star combat sages attacked together, he might not even be able to survive, let alone kill his way out. But now, it seemed that there was no way to retreat. "If you have the ability, fight one-on-one with me. What kind of man are you to bully me with numbers?" Wang Ziqing shouted. "One-on-one." The old man in white looked at him with ridicule. Apparently, he was mocking Wang Ziqing for being too naive. "Damn it, looks like I can only fight with my life on the line." Wang Ziqing saw that his provocation did not work. His face suddenly darkened, and a destructive aura spread out from his body. This aura, Qin Feiyang's gaze trembled. This was the prelude to self-destructing his physical body. Seeing this, a trace of panic appeared on the faces of the 35 9-star battle saints. They could not help but be afraid, because the self-destruction of the 9-star combat sages was enough to kill all of them. Some of them even retreated in fear. No one is allowed to retreat. I don't believe that he really dares to self-destruct his body. But at this moment, the old man in white shouted coldly, "Old thing, why don't you go and find out who I am? There's nothing in this world that I don't dare to do." Wang Ziqing sneered, and had no intention of stopping. The destructive aura around him became stronger and stronger. He really dares to self-destruct? The old man in white was surprised. Wang Ziqing said, "Since there are so many of you, and we can't escape, we might as well die together with you." Damn it! He doesn't look like he's joking. "Retreat quickly!" One of the burly men shouted and retreated without hesitation. Once the burly man fled, the others could no longer control the fear in their hearts. They turned around and fled without looking back. A bunch of useless trash. The old man in white's eyes darkened, and a terrifying aura rushed out from his body. It was not the aura of a saint, but the aura of an emperor. Qin Feiyang and Wang Ziqing's mood instantly fell to the bottom. This old thing indeed had hidden his strength. "You want to self-destruct in front of me? Let's see if you have the ability." The old man in white laughed coldly. The emperor's aura was like a waterfall, instantly imprisoning Qin Feiyang and Wang Ziqing in the void. Wang Ziqing's self-destruction was also forcefully interrupted. "Brother, quickly think of a way," Wang Ziqing shouted. Just as the old man in white had said, he did not dare to self-destruct. After all, who would be willing to die unless they were truly at a dead end? He did this purely to scare these people and find a chance to escape. However, he did not expect that this old thing was actually a combat emperor. It was not impossible to stop the self-destruction of the physical body. As long as there was an overwhelming strength, like the old man in white who used the emperor's aura to imprison Wang Ziqing, he could forcefully interrupt it. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. He gritted his teeth and transmitted his voice. Find a way to break the restraints of the Emperor's aura. I'll take you away. Okay. Break for me. Wang Ziqing nodded and let out a hysterical roar. His aura soared to the sky. Boom. The next moment, he actually broke through the Emperor's aura that imprisoned the two of them. How is this possible? The old man in white's eyes trembled. It was simply a fantasy for a combat saint to break through the Emperor's aura. Qin Feiyang was also extremely shocked. Although Wang Ziqing was a 9-star combat saint, and was only one step away from becoming a combat emperor, there was an uncrossable gap between combat saints and combat emperors. How did this person do it? However, there was no time to think about this now. Restrain your aura, Qin Feiyang hurriedly said to Wang Ziqing. Then, he grabbed Wang Ziqing's wrist. The next moment, the two of them disappeared into thin air from the old man in white's sight. What? The old man in white scanned the void in surprise. Those 9-star combat saints were also dumbfounded. They were right in front of them just a moment ago. How did they suddenly disappear? Was it a magic trick? Brother, what's going on? Wang Ziqing was also dumbfounded. This was because they had not moved at all from the beginning to the end. They were still standing in front of the old man in white. However, the old man in white and his group actually treated them like air? This was too strange, wasn't it? This is a combat art that can make one invisible. As long as we restrain our aura and don't make a sound, even if we appear in front of them, they won't be able to see us. Qin Feiyang smiled and transmitted his voice. That's right. This was the concealment art. The concealment art could not only make the user invisible, but it could also make the people and objects around them invisible as well. This was the most powerful part of the concealment art. However, the prerequisite was that there must be zero contact with the user. This meant that if they wanted to become invisible with Qin Feiyang, they had to capture Qin Feiyang. Damn, is there such a combat art in this world? When Wang Ziqing heard this, he felt like he was dreaming. It was too unreal. If you don't believe me, I'll take you to try it. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and led Wang Ziqing to the old man in white. They were only half a meter away from each other. Wang Ziqing glanced at Qin Feiyang and raised his other hand tentatively. He waved it in front of the old man in white. Seeing that the old man in white did not react at all, he said in surprise, "It really works?" Subsequently, he transmitted his voice and asked, "Is there a time limit to your concealment art? Or are there any other drawbacks?" "Yes. It can only be maintained for an hour. It can only be used once a day. As for the drawbacks, I have only used it twice. I haven't discovered them yet." Qin Feiyang said to himself. This is also very heaven-defying. Wang Ziqing exclaimed. For people at their level, they could do a lot of things in an hour. Qin Feiyang glanced at the group of 9-star combat saints. His eyes flashed and he transmitted his voice. "How is it? Do you have any ideas?" "Ideas?" Wang Ziqing was stunned. Following Qin Feiyang's gaze, the corners of his mouth suddenly hooked up into an evil smile, and said, "Such a good opportunity. Of course I have ideas." Chapter 998. Where on earth did they go? It's impossible for them to have vanished from the face of the earth. They must be hiding somewhere. The group of people scanned the void, their eyes full of bewilderment. The old man in white also scanned the surroundings, not missing any part of the void. Bang! Ah! All of a sudden, a terrifying aura emerged. Following closely, a shrill scream reverberated in the sky above the sea. The next moment after the scream, the aura disappeared in an instant. The white-haired old man and the rest heard the scream and immediately turned to look, only to see a middle-aged man falling into the sea below. There was a thumb-sized bloody hole between the middle-aged man's eyebrows. It was penetrated from the front to the back and blood spurted out like a fountain. How is this possible? The group of people turned pale with fright. The middle-aged man was their companion. He was in the middle of the group, but no one saw how he died. It must be them. Where are they hiding? Come out quickly. Don't hide. In addition to being angry, the group of people was extremely panicked. They could not see the other party and could not fight back. Bang! Ah! Suddenly, that terrifying aura emerged again. The previous situation happened again. Another middle-aged man spattered blood in the sky and quickly fell into the sea, swallowed by the sea. Bastard! If you have the ability, come out and fight fair and square. What kind of man are you if you hide and scheme? The white-haired old man gritted his teeth. In less than 3 breaths, 2 9-star battle saints had fallen. Such a loss was heart-wrenching. Previously, when I asked you to fight one-on-one with me, you were unwilling. Now that you can't do anything to me, you want me to go out and fight fair and square with you. Do you think it's possible? Wang Zicheng's mocking voice reverberated in the void. Die! The white-haired old man said coldly. He waved his big old hand, and his battle aura was like a dragon, roaring in the direction of the voice. But in the end there was no reaction. Instead, one of his companions was killed. His head was penetrated, and he died on the spot. The remaining 32 battle saints were completely in a panic, and their hearts were drowned by fear. The other party had been hiding in the dark, and there was no way to guard against them. Moreover, after attacking, they immediately concealed their aura. They could not detect the location of the two at all. If this went on, they would be wiped out. Following a painful scream, the 4th 9-star battle saint was killed. I can't take it anymore. Run! A thin middle-aged man could no longer bear the torture. He turned around and fled frantically. However, as soon as he took a step forward, killing intent reappeared. A stream of battle chi appeared out of thin air and shot into the middle of the middle-aged man's forehead. Blood instantly dyed the sky red. The middle-aged man died in despair. Bastards, I'm going to tear you all apart. The white-haired old man roared. A dignified battle emperor could only watch as his subordinates were killed one by one. This kind of grievance, this kind of powerlessness made him go mad. Boom! A world-shaking emperor's aura roared in all directions. The space within a radius of 12 miles began to twist and contort violently. In the sea below, huge waves that were hundreds of feet high rose up, covering the sky and the sun. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang and Wang Zicheng appeared in the void a few miles away, looking rather miserable. His face was pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The concealment art was actually forcefully broken. Qin Feiyang found it hard to believe, but he didn't have time to think about it, because the white-haired old man had already discovered them, and like an enraged beast, he charged over crazily. Retreat! Wang Zicheng's pupils contracted. He grabbed Qin Feiyang and rushed into the sea below with a thud. Chase after them! The white-haired old man roared and took the lead to chase into the sea. Did you see that? However, the remaining 31 9-star battle saints did not immediately chase after them. Their faces were filled with disbelief. I saw it. The blood at the corner of Ancestor Mu's mouth is purplish gold. Purplish gold blood, is there such a color in the world? What kind of monster is he? Could it be that he's a monster? It's possible. It's said that some ferocious beasts, after cultivating to a certain extent, can transform into human form. Don't think about it, chase after them. In an instant, everyone rushed into the sea, setting off huge waves. In the sea, Qin Feiyang and Wang Zicheng did not look back, as they rushed to the bottom of the sea. The water pressure was surging from all directions. Wang Zicheng said anxiously, "Brother, quickly try, can you still activate that invisibility technique?" Qin Feiyang immediately activated the concealment art, but it was useless. He shook his head and said, "No, this is troublesome." Wang Zicheng's eyes darkened. The white-robed old man was a war emperor, and his speed far surpassed theirs. If they did not think of a way, they would definitely be in trouble. Qin Feiyang's face was also extremely gloomy. He did not expect that the concealment art would be broken by the emperor's might. It seemed that this battle art was not invincible. There was a limit to it. Let's see where you can escape to today. Suddenly, the white-haired old man's murderous voice entered their ears. The two of them turned around, and their expressions changed. The white-haired old man had already caught up. He was probably only about 100 feet away. Don't be afraid. The water pressure in the deep sea is very high. It will limit his speed, and I have the water avoidance pearl. Wang Zicheng flipped his hand, and a crystal-clear water droplet appeared, emitting a hazy luster. As soon as the water avoidance pearl appeared, the water pressure in the surroundings immediately disappeared. The two of them instantly sped up by a large margin. In this deep sea, even a war emperor would find it difficult to do anything without the water avoidance pearl. Moreover, we even killed 4 9-star war saints. It's not a loss. Wang Ziqing smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang's face also revealed a trace of a smile. However, in the next moment, the smile on their faces froze, because they sensed that the white-haired old man's aura not only did not pull away, but was instead getting closer and closer. Swoosh! The two of them turned around in surprise, and their expressions changed drastically. They saw that the white-haired old man was also holding a crystal-clear pearl in his hand. If that was not the water avoidance pearl, then what was it? They even prepared the water avoidance pearl in advance. It seems that this time they are determined to kill me. Qin Feiyang's eyes were hazy. Wang Ziqing said angrily, "Brother, who exactly did you offend?" Qin Feiyang said, "I am still unable to confirm their identity. Moreover, even if I tell you, you may not know." "All right. Although it's a headache, who asked me to have a brother like you?" Wang Ziqing smiled helplessly, glanced at the white-robed old man behind him, and said, "It seems that if we want to survive today, we have to show our trump card." Qin Feiyang was surprised. The difference in speed between a 9-star war saint and a war emperor was more than 1 or 2 times. Even a perfect battle art would not be able to make up for this difference. But this person was actually so confident. Wang Ziqing said, "Grab my shoulder." Qin Feiyang was stunned, then followed his words and firmly grabbed Wang Ziqing's shoulder. Next, Wang Ziqing's face was solemn, his hands placed in front of his chest, and shouted, "With blood as the plan, with life as the guide, as the law orders go." Qin Feiyang looked at him in a daze. Why did he suddenly feel that this guy was like a fraud? Immediately after, he looked at the white-robed old man behind him. That's not right. His speed was still the same as before. What the hell was going on? He looked at Wang Ziqing strangely. I haven't used this move in a long time. It seems like the posture is wrong. Let's do it again." Wang Ziqing laughed embarrassedly. "The posture is wrong?" Qin Feiyang's face twitched. This was the first time he heard that to use a certain battle art, one needed the correct posture? Wang Ziqing glanced at Qin Feiyang awkwardly, then raised his right hand and stretched it forward. His left hand was placed in front of his chest. What kind of posture is this? Qin Feiyang looked at him blankly. He didn't even know how to describe this posture. It was as if Ultraman was fighting a monster. It was rather comical. "Don't hold it in. If you want to laugh, then laugh." Wang Ziqing snorted coldly. His comical expression also made people not know whether to laugh or cry. Cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly, held back his laughter, and urged, "Don't dawdle, hurry up." "Humph." Wang Ziqing snorted coldly and chanted, "With blood as the plan, with life as the guide, as the law orders go." As soon as he finished speaking, a bloody mist suddenly rose from his body. Whoosh! Following closely, the speed of the two soared like a bolt of lightning, crazily shuttling in the sea. In the blink of an eye, they left the white-haired old man behind. So fast. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. At this moment, their speed was definitely faster than a perfect battle art. It even gave people the illusion that they were teleporting. The white-haired old man and the group of 9-star battle saints behind were also dumbfounded. What the hell? This speed is too abnormal, isn't it? When they came to their senses, the two had already disappeared without a trace. What should we do? The group of 9-star battle saints looked at each other, somewhat at a loss. Finally, they looked at the white-robed old man. "Go to the inland sea. His target is the alchemy fire. As long as we go to the inland sea first, we will see him sooner or later." The white-haired old man said gloomily. "That makes sense." The group nodded. One of them suddenly looked at the white-haired old man and asked, "By the way, did you see that the blood at the corner of Ancestor Mu's mouth was purplish gold?" Purplish gold? The white-haired old man was bewildered. Because he was too angry at that time, he did not notice this. The 31 9-star battle saints nodded. The white-robed old man frowned and said, "Impossible. How can there be such blood in this world? You must have seen wrongly." Did we really see wrongly? The group of people frowned. At the same time, Wang Zicheng was still shuttling through the sea with Qin Feiyang at an extremely fast speed. About 50 breaths later, suddenly, Wang Zicheng stopped and looked back. Seeing that the white-robed old man did not follow, he breathed a sigh of relief. The blood mist on his body also dissipated. But just as Wang Zicheng turned back, Qin Feiyang looked as if he had seen a ghost. His face was full of horror. At this moment, Wang Zicheng's face was full of wrinkles, like an old man in his 60s or 70s. Moreover, his originally strong body seemed to have been hollowed out. He was as thin as a matchstick, and his temples were full of white hair. Isn't it just old? What's there to look at? Wang Zicheng did not care at all, as if it was a very normal thing. He raised his head and looked around, then continued to fly forward. But his speed was not as fast as before. It was his usual speed, or even slower, as if he was very weak now. What's going on? Chapter 999. Wang Zicheng said impatiently. Isn't it enough to bring you out? Why are you asking so much? All right, let's just say I didn't ask. Qin Feiyang said. Seems like this should be a secret in Wang Zicheng's heart. Actually, it's not that I can't say it. A moment later, Wang Zicheng suddenly said. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Previously, he didn't say anything when he asked. Now he was taking the initiative to say it. Why was this person so fickle? Wang Zicheng said. This is a forbidden technique. Forbidden technique? Qin Feiyang was startled. Yes, forbidden techniques are not comparable to battle arts. Battle arts can be used as one pleases without any restrictions, but forbidden techniques can only be used to save one's life. Because using a forbidden technique will cause an indelible injury to the user, which is the so-called side effect. And the forbidden technique that I used before used my blood as a plan, my life as a guide, in exchange for surpassing my own speed limit. In other words, to use this forbidden technique, I need to use my blood qi and lifespan as the price. Wang Zicheng explained. So it's like that. Qin Feiyang suddenly realized. No wonder this guy was so old now, and asked. Then how long can this forbidden technique of yours last? 100 breaths. Once it exceeds 100 breaths, unless there is a peerless divine pill that can extend one's life, one will definitely die. Wang Zicheng said. Qin Feiyang was secretly speechless. Although Wang Zicheng's forbidden technique could be exchanged for unparalleled speed, the price was too great. I remember that from the beginning to the end, you lasted for about 50 breaths. That means you only have half of your life force and blood qi left. Qin Feiyang said worriedly. Don't worry. I'm about to break through to the War King, and my lifespan will increase exponentially. Sacrificing this little bit is nothing to worry about. Wang Zicheng smiled confidently, without the slightest bit of worry. On the contrary, it seemed that Qin Feiyang was worrying too much. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. He did not know Wang Zicheng's true age, but he reckoned that it was around the same age as young Master Hao. It seemed that this Qinghai was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Suddenly, he thought of another problem. Previously, how had Wang Zicheng broken through the white-robed old man's emperor's pressure? According to what he knew, only by opening the door of potential would one be able to break through the pressure that surpassed one's cultivation. In other words, it was very likely that Wang Zicheng had also opened the door of potential. He looked at Wang Zicheng's back and his eyes flickered. Right now, he really had the urge to immediately rip off Wang Zicheng's clothes. But in the end, he suppressed this impulse. That was because doing so would definitely incur Wang Zicheng's displeasure. At that time, Wang Zicheng might even turn hostile. Brother, I've told you everything you want to know. Shouldn't you tell me who you are? Wang Zicheng suddenly stopped and turned to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said with a smile, I won't hide it from Brother Wang. In fact, I am the direct disciple of the Chief Pagoda Master. What? You are so weak, yet you can become his personal disciple. What kind of foresight does he have? Wang Zicheng was dumbfounded. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Yes, compared to Wang Zicheng, his strength was indeed a lot weaker. But there was no need to be so blatant about it, right? Moreover, how much older was Wang Zicheng than him? If he was as old as Wang Zicheng, He had full confidence that his strength would definitely be stronger than Wang Zicheng. Hehe, I'm a straightforward person. Don't mind me. Wang Zicheng laughed mischievously. You don't have the slightest sincerity in apologizing. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. But then again, since the chief pagoda master accepted you as his disciple, I believe you should have something extraordinary. How about it? Let me see it. Wang Zicheng looked at him provocatively. Not interested. Qin Feiyong said indifferently. Wang Zicheng teased. Don't be shy. I'm not a pervert. Besides, I'm not interested in men. Don't go too far. Qin Feiyong's veins popped. Okay. I won't say any more. But you're really boring. I guess you can't even find a woman, because your EQ is too low. Wang Zicheng glanced at him with disdain, and then flew towards the surface of the sea. I'm sorry to disappoint you. There are quite a lot of women who like me, and I already have a fiancé. Do you have one? Qin Feiyong followed him unhurriedly and said indifferently. What? You have a fiancé? Wang Zicheng looked at him in shock and then laughed. Then I guess it must be a big dinosaur. Otherwise, why would she take a fancy to you? Big dinosaur? Qin Feiyong smiled playfully. If Wang Yue heard this, Wang Zicheng would probably have to run naked again. Achoo! In the sky above a certain sea area, Wang Yue, who was galloping, suddenly sneezed. She rubbed her nose and furrowed her beautiful brows. Why did I suddenly sneeze? Is someone scolding me? It must be. And it should be that bastard ancestor Mu. But where did that little bastard go? He hasn't come back yet. Half an hour passed. Qin Feiyong and Wang Zicheng rushed out of the sea and stood in the sky above the sea area, looking ahead. A moment later, Wang Zicheng retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyong. It's still half a day's journey to the inland sea. Shall we rush there immediately, or find a place to rest first? Qin Feiyong said. In your current state, it's better for you to rest first. Okay. I remember that there is an island in the northwest. It's not far from here. Let's go there to rest. Wang Zicheng said. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. Whoosh. Immediately after, the two turned into a stream of light and rushed towards the northwest like lightning. Another hour or so passed. An island finally came into their sight. This island was different from the islands they had seen before. It was more than 10 miles wide, like a small continent floating on the sea. And looking at it, the entire island was covered with a layer of green vegetation, and they could faintly feel the aura of fierce beasts. And as they got closer, the aura of those beasts became more obvious. Even Qin Feiyong sensed the aura of a few holy beasts. He couldn't help but be vigilant. Don't worry, I've been to this island several times. There are no beasts that can threaten us. No. To be exact, there are no beasts that can threaten me. Wang Zicheng said proudly. The implication was that if Qin Feiyong entered the island alone, it was likely to be a disaster. Qin Feiyong glanced at him and didn't say anything. Dozens of breaths later, the two entered the island and landed on the top of a 500 to 600 feet high mountain in the middle of the island. On the top of the mountain, there were weeds everywhere, but there were no dense trees. The field of vision was very open, and they could observe the situation of the entire island. However, on a rock at the edge of the cliff, there was a black falcon. Its body was very large, more than 10 meters long. It stared at Qin Feiyong and Wang Zicheng, and its eagle eyes were shining with a shocking light. Holy beast! Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank. The aura emitted by the falcon frightened even him. Don't be afraid, we're all old friends. Wang Zicheng smiled, waved at the falcon and shouted enthusiastically, Little Bean, long time no see. Chirp! The falcon suddenly soared, and a gust of wind blew. Qin Feiyong thought that it had become ferocious, but he didn't expect that it would actually flap its wings and disappear into the mountain stream below with a loud and clear cry. It didn't even look back. And in the falcon's cry, Qin Feiyong seemed to hear a trace of fear. Wang Zicheng shouted, Hey, why are you running? I didn't plan to beat you up this time. Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at him with a strange expression. The first time I came, I was sneak attacked by it, and as a result, I gave it a good beating. The next few times I came, I would go look for it first. It was probably scared by me, and ran away when it saw me. In fact, I'm not a bad person. As long as it doesn't provoke me, it can be discussed. Wang Ziqing said helplessly. Qin Feiyang was speechless. He could have killed the falcon directly, but he did not do so, and every time he came, he would run to beat it up. In the falcon's eyes, this guy was even more terrifying than a bad person. Buzz! Suddenly, the image crystal made a sound. Qin Feiyang's heart moved, and he looked at Wang Ziqing and said, "You rest first, I'll go take a stroll around." "What's there to stroll around?" Wang Ziqing was suspicious, but Qin Feiyang did not answer. He turned around and flew towards the mountain stream below. I'm already mysterious enough, but this guy is even more mysterious than me. It seems that when I have time, I'll have to check up on him. Wang Ziqing muttered, looking at Qin Feiyang's back, his eyes flashing with an inexplicable color. Mountain stream. Next to a stream, Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. Guo Yang's shadow quickly condensed. Qin Feiyang asked, "Did you find it?" Guo Yang nodded and said, "There is indeed a person who left the tribe yesterday morning." "Who?" Qin Feiyang said. "One of the leader's trusted aides is called Guo Xiangzhong, and he has the cultivation of a one-star war emperor. In addition, I also heard that there were dozens of 9-star war saints who left with Guo Xiangzhong, but I didn't find out exactly how many there were." Guo Yang said. "Guo Xiangzhong," Qin Feiyang muttered. Suddenly, he waved his hand and the image of the white-haired old man condensed. He asked, "Is it him?" "No." Guo Yang looked at the old man in white and shook his head. "It's not." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "I understand. Continue to monitor your leader. If there's any news, immediately report to me." "Yes." Guo Yang respectfully replied, and turned off the image crystal. Qin Feiyang waved his hand again, dispersing the image of the white-haired old man. Then, he kept the image crystal and lowered his head, deep in thought. Time passed breath by breath. Suddenly, a sneer crept onto his face. He was basically certain that the white-haired old man was Guo Xiangzhong. As for the difference in appearance, it must be because Guo Xiangzhong had deliberately changed his appearance. After all, he was now the direct disciple of the chief pagoda master. And assassinating the direct disciple of the chief pagoda master was not a small matter. If the assassination failed, the Qilin tribe would pay a heavy price. Qilin tribe. Let's ride a donkey and see who will have the last laugh. Qin Feiyang whispered. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he prepared to fly towards the peak of the mountain. But at this moment... Chapter 1000. In Qin Feiyang's heart, a fatal sense of crisis immediately emerged. Swoosh! Without hesitation, he used the phantom steps and quickly dodged to the side. The next moment, that black shadow shuttled past where he was previously standing at lightning speed. "Who is it?" Qin Feiyang shouted angrily. His entire body was drenched in cold sweat. Because if he was 1 second late, no, half a second late. If he was half a second late, the black shadow would definitely pass through his body, and he would definitely lose his life. However, when he saw the black shadow's face clearly, he was stunned. It was a falcon. Its body was only the size of an adult's palm, and its eyes were shining fiercely. As for this falcon, he seemed to have seen it somewhere before. Right. He remembered. This little guy in front of him was the falcon that was scared away by Wang Ziqing on the mountain peak previously. It was only because its body had shrunk that he did not recognize it at first glance. "Why did you sneak attack me?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said angrily. "I can't kill him, so of course I can only kill you to vent my anger." The falcon smiled sinisterly. His holy aura suddenly erupted, and he pounced toward Qin Feiyang again. "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was stunned, but in the next moment he understood. It turned out that this falcon wanted to kill Wang Ziqing, but it admitted that it did not have the ability, so it planned to kill him to vent its anger. He sized up the falcon seriously and quickly deduced its cultivation level. It was a 4-star battle saint. If you want to vent your anger, you have to find the right person. You're courting death by coming to find me. Murderous intent flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. He directly rushed forward and slammed his palm in the air. Golden light burst out from his palm. Return formula. Chirp. With a wail, Falcon was sent flying on the spot. His body cracked as blood stained the sky. So powerful. The falcon's pupils contracted. It thought that it could easily kill a one-star battle saint, but it did not expect it to be so terrifying. Whoosh! It was scared. Using the impact of the return formula, it turned around and began to flee. I'm not as merciful as Wang Zicheng. Qin Feiyang coldly smiled as he used phantom steps to quickly chase after him. Whether it was a human or a beast, as long as they dared to plot against him, he would not let them off. Even though Falcon was a 4-star battle saint, his phantom steps could increase his speed by 4 small realms. In other words, Qin Feiyang's current speed was comparable to a 5-star battle saint. In just a few blinks of an eye, Qin Feiyang had caught up to Falcon. Crimson Sword Qi surged out, transforming into an apocalyptic torrent that rushed towards Falcon. I know I was wrong. Don't kill me. Sensing the intense killing intent and sharpness, Falcon's body and mind trembled as he panicked to the extreme. If I didn't have a perfect support-type battle art, I would have died under your claws. Do you think it's possible for me to let you go now? Qin Feiyang laughed mockingly. I know I was wrong. Please let me go. If you let me go, I'll tell you a secret. Falcon stopped running, because there was no way he could escape. He turned around and looked at Qin Feiyang pleadingly. Secret. Qin Feiyang was taken aback. With a thought, the Crimson Sword Qi stopped in the air. He said coldly, Don't say I didn't give you a chance. Tell me. Falcon said, There are ruins hidden under this island. Ruins. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up and said, The exact location. Falcon said, The exact location is in the sea. If you enter the seabed from the southwest direction of this island, you will see a cave. It's inside the cave. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at the southwest direction. He then looked at Falcon and frowned. Why aren't you going to the ruins? I can't go in. Falcon said helplessly. What? Even you can't go in? Qin Feiyang was bewildered. Yes. The entrance of the cave is sealed by a barrier. I have tried many methods, but I can't break that barrier. Falcon said. That means this ruin is quite incredible. Qin Feiyang was tempted. Ruins were usually left behind by the ancients. If Falcon didn't lie to him, there must be some treasures hidden. Brother, why are there battle fluctuations? Did something happen? At this time, Wang Zicheng's worried voice sounded from the top of the mountain. Whoosh! Falcon's body trembled, and he immediately turned and fled. It seemed that the fear of Wang Zicheng had been imprinted in the depths of his soul. However, Qin Feiyang didn't stop him and let him leave. Brother, are you all right? Hurry up and answer me. Wang Zicheng's voice sounded again. I'm fine. It's just that an ignorant beast attacked me. I've already dealt with it. Qin Feiyang replied. All right, be careful. Although the beasts on this island aren't strong, there are still some that can hurt you. Wang Zicheng warned loudly. Got it. Qin Feiyang replied. After pondering for a moment, he turned and headed southwest. Whether Falcon lied to him or not, it was necessary to confirm it. With Qin Feiyang's speed, he soon arrived at the seaside. Glancing at the calm surface of the sea, he took a deep breath, took out a water avoidance pearl and jumped in. The surface of the sea was calm, but the undercurrents were surging. However, with the water avoidance pearl, it didn't affect him. He quickly sank all the way. After about 100 breaths, he finally reached the bottom of the sea. The bottom of the sea was covered with a layer of mud that had accumulated for countless years. The traces of sea beasts could be faintly seen nearby. However, their aura wasn't very strong. Next, Qin Feiyang was at the bottom of the sea, carefully searching around the island. There really is one. After about 10 breaths, he was overjoyed. He really found a cave. The diameter of the cave entrance was about 2 meters, extending all the way to the depths of the island. It was pitch black inside. It just said that this entrance is sealed by a barrier. Staring at the cave, Qin Feiyang was silent for a moment. He tentatively raised his hand and reached towards the entrance. Buzz! Suddenly, a dazzling light curtain appeared at the entrance of the cave, blocking Qin Feiyang's hand. Qin Feiyang was shocked. This light curtain actually contained a terrifying emperor's might. giving him a strong sense of oppression. Obviously, this was really a relic, and it was left behind by a war emperor. Although there were many war emperors in the Forgotten Continent and the Great Qin Empire, it didn't mean that one could underestimate them. In this era where fake gods didn't appear, the war emperor was an existence that stood at the top of this world. Every one of them had the ability to reach the heavens. Therefore, the relics left behind by each war emperor were comparable to a great treasure. And for a war sage like Qin Feiyang, to be able to obtain the relics of a war emperor was also a great fortune. Therefore, Qin Feiyang was very excited. He didn't expect to come to this place unintentionally and actually encounter a treasure. Bang! Suddenly, battle chi gushed out from his palm, and he slapped the barrier with all his might. However, not only did the barrier not show any signs of breaking, it even rebounded and sent him flying. His body also suffered heavy injuries, and a mouthful of purple gold dragon blood spurted out. It seems like there's no way to forcefully break it. After stabilizing his body, he stood not far away and looked at the pitch-black cave, his brows tightly knitted together. So you're here. Suddenly, a cold snort sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Wang Zicheng. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. He raised his head and saw Wang Zicheng standing above, looking at him angrily. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and asked, "Why are you here?" "When I heard your reply, I felt that something was wrong, so I followed you all the way here. I didn't expect you to find a relic. But that's not the point. The point is I trust you so much, yet you actually hid it from me. Isn't that a bit too much?" Wang Zicheng said angrily. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "Say it again with your conscience. Do you really believe me?" Wang Zicheng was at a loss for words. "I admit, I do have a good impression of you, but I can't trust you and pour my heart out to you. After all, we just met not long ago. I believe that you think so too. Otherwise you wouldn't be speechless now." Qin Feiyang said, "So what if I am? At least I won't be like you, always on guard against others." Wang Zicheng snorted and landed beside Qin Feiyang, looking at the entrance of the cave. "I don't know you, what's wrong with being on guard?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. In this world, except for a few people, there was no one he could completely trust. "All right, I won't talk nonsense with you." Wang Zicheng waved his hand impatiently, and then rushed into the cave. Qin Feiyang's face changed and he hurriedly shouted, "I tried just now. I can't forcefully break it. Come back. Can you compare with me?" "You can't, but it doesn't mean that I can't either." Wang Zicheng smiled disdainfully. Whatever. Qin Feiyang simply did not care anymore. He advised him out of kindness. Not only did he not appreciate it, he even mocked him back. "Fine. You want to suffer, right? Go ahead. Break for me." Wang Zicheng rushed to the front of the hole, roared, and punched the barrier with all his strength. Boom! Immediately, a terrifying aura rolled out in this place, and the sea water immediately surged. Qin Feiyang retreated like lightning. At the same time, Wang Zicheng howled in pain and was sent flying by the barrier. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and his arm was also lacerated. In the end, with a bang, he smashed into the mud not far from Qin Feiyang, looking extremely miserable. It seems that the stronger the force, the greater the rebound force. Qin Feiyang looked at the barrier, looked at Wang Zicheng and said indifferently, "I tried to persuade you, but you didn't listen." Wang Zicheng got up, shook off the mud on his body and said angrily, "But you didn't say that this barrier has a rebound force, and it's so strong." Unreasonable. Qin Feiyang glanced at him, looked at the barrier again, and fell into deep thought. Wang Zicheng also looked at the barrier, his face full of anger. Got it. After an unknown amount of time, Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. "What is it? Don't say that you have a way to break this barrier." Wang Zicheng said. He did not believe that with Qin Feiyang's cultivation, he would have this ability. "Sorry, I really have a way," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Wang Zicheng was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, "What way?" Qin Feiyang turned his hand, and a rib appeared. "Yeah." Chapter 1001. He had grown up in Shanghai, and had seen countless rare treasures. so he could tell at a glance that the rib was extraordinary. Can you let me have a look? He quickly moved in front of Qin Feiyang, his eyes full of desire. Qin Feiyang ignored him and looked at the barrier at the entrance. This barrier was left by a combat arch, and Mu Tianyang was probably a god of war at his peak. Therefore, this rib bone should be useful. Boom! He rushed forward, raised the rib, and smashed it at the barrier. Accompanied by a deafening sound, the enchantment really did shatter, and it was as easy as crushing dry weeds. The barrier left by a combat arch was broken so easily. Wang Ziqing was dumbfounded. Whose rib was this? How could it be so terrifying? Splash! Boom! The barrier was broken, and the seawater immediately surged into the cave. Hurry! Qin Feiyang shouted. They were at the bottom of the sea, and the impact of the seawater was extremely terrifying. If they didn't stop it quickly, the things inside might be destroyed. Whoosh! The two turned into a stream of light and rushed into the cave. There was a dark tunnel inside, and the echoes of the seawater were deafening. Soon, the two rushed out of the seawater and landed on dry ground. Wang Ziqing immediately turned around, and his battle chi surged and turned into a barrier, sealing the tunnel behind him and blocking the seawater outside. Phew! Qin Feiyang let out a long breath, put away the water-repelling pearl and the rib, and turned to look into the tunnel. Brother, who did that rib belong to? It's so powerful. Before he saw the rib, he was quite interested in this relic. But now, his thoughts were all on the rib. He felt that even if there were some peerless treasures hidden in this relic, they wouldn't be as valuable as that rib. Qin Feiyang glanced at him and said vaguely, "It belongs to a powerful expert. Can you make it clear?" Wang Ziqing was a little depressed. What was the difference between this answer and not answering at all? I can't explain it clearly now. Let's go inside and take a look, Qin Feiyang said, and then walked deeper into the tunnel. Wang Ziqing frowned and followed behind Qin Feiyang. He did not continue to ask, but his eyes were fixed on Qin Feiyang's back. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but become vigilant. He hadn't known this person for long, so he had no idea what kind of person he was, so he had to be on guard. The seawater outside gradually calmed down, and the echoes disappeared. The tunnel fell into a dead silence. Only the sound of their footsteps could be heard. Why do I feel so depressed? Wang Ziqing spoke in a low voice while a trace of vigilance arose in his heart. Qin Feiyang stared ahead, not daring to be distracted in the slightest. This was because he also felt oppressed, and even found it difficult to breathe. This atmosphere made him very uncomfortable. Several hundred breaths passed. Suddenly, Wang Ziqing stopped and stared at Qin Feiyang in bewilderment. Look, there's light over there. Actually, even without Wang Ziqing's reminder, Qin Feiyang had already seen it. It was a wisp of weak flame. Moreover, the air also became a little hot. We should be there soon, be careful, Qin Feiyang warned in a low voice. I've seen more relics than you've eaten. Do I need you to remind me? Wang Ziqing smiled disdainfully. My good intentions are taken for granted. Qin Feiyang glanced at him coldly, but did not continue to pester him, and continued to move forward. As they continued to go deeper, the weak flame became more and more obvious. The heat also became more and more intense. In the end, the two felt as if they were in a sea of fire, sweating all over. How could this be? Is there a volcano in front? Wang Ziqing muttered. Qin Feiyang also had the same feeling. After dozens of breaths, the light of the fire finally appeared clearly in front of the two of them. It turned out that the flame was the light emitted from the tunnel. The tunnel ahead was completely red, as if it was a piece of red-hot iron. Qin Feiyang bent down and reached out his hand to touch the crimson ground. It was very hot. If a mortal came here, they would be burned to ashes in an instant. However, Qin Feiyang and Wang Ziqing were both battle saints, so this temperature was not difficult for them. Qin Feiyang got up and looked deeper into the tunnel, frowning slightly. What was at the end of this tunnel? The two stepped forward again, stepping on the rolling ground, and continued to go deeper. Another few hundred breaths passed. Wang Ziqing was overjoyed, pointed forward and exclaimed, "Is that the end?" In front, there was an exit 100 meters away. Through the exit, the two could clearly see that there was a large grotto outside. The grotto was also red. Let's go. Qin Feiyang quickened his pace and quickly came to the exit. Standing at the edge of the exit, he scanned the grotto. The grotto was unimaginably large. The height was 500 to 600 meters, and the diameter was 300 to 400 meters. It was natural and not man-made. At the bottom of the grotto, there was boiling magma, emitting an extremely high temperature. It really is an underwater volcano. Wang Ziqing was surprised. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's look for it." With that, he took the lead and rushed into the grotto. "Let me tell you, we found this place together. Even if there are treasures, I have a share. Don't play tricks." Wang Ziqing also quickly flew in and said to Qin Feiyang, "Let's find it first." Qin Feiyang replied expressionlessly, then scanned the walls of the grotto, not letting go of any place. But in the end, he didn't find anything. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown, looked at Wang Ziqing beside him, and asked, "Did you find anything?" "No. Could it be that we're thinking too much, and this isn't a relic at all?" Wang Ziqing shook his head, also confused. "Impossible. If it's not a relic, how do you explain the barrier at the entrance? Furthermore, although this grotto is naturally formed, the tunnel is man-made." Qin Feiyang said, "When we passed by before, I also observed carefully, and it was indeed man-made." Wang Ziqing nodded, then said, "But there's really nothing here. Could it be that we've overlooked something?" Qin Feiyang frowned. The two of them looked at the grotto again. Suddenly, the two of them lowered their heads and looked at the magma below at the same time, their eyes flickering. Whoosh! The next moment, the two of them dove down at the same time with tacit understanding. A battle chi barrier appeared on the surface of their bodies, and then they plunged into the magma. Swoosh! Not long after the two of them entered the magma, another figure appeared at lightning speed. It was a young man with a strong build. He was 2 meters tall. His upper body was bare like Wang Ziqing. His 8-pack abs were bulging, and he had a head of thick black hair. He was like a small giant, exuding a wild aura. His lower body was wearing a pair of large pants made of animal skin, and his feet were bare. The aura he exuded was unfathomable. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. "Wang Ziqing, today I'll settle all our old scores." The young man stood at the edge of the tunnel and looked down at the churning magma below. His dark eyes were filled with mockery. Time passed breath by breath. About an hour later, 2 figures suddenly rushed out of the magma. It was Qin Feiyang and Wang Ziqing. It was also at this moment. The young man standing at the entrance of the tunnel suddenly released his aura. He rushed into the grotto like lightning and slammed his palm toward Wang Ziqing's chest. "Someone's here?" Qin Feiyang and Wang Ziqing were shocked. But it was too sudden, and Wang Ziqing had no time to counterattack or dodge. The young man's palm landed squarely on his chest. "Ah!" Wang Ziqing spat out a mouthful of blood, and with a painful howl, he fell into the magma below again. Qin Feiyang finally reacted. He quickly retreated to a corner of the grotto and looked at the young man warily. However, the young man didn't pay any attention to him at all. He stared straight at the lava below, as if treating Qin Feiyang as air. Looks like his target is Wang Ziqing. But why would he appear here? And his aura is so strong. He should be a 9-star battle saint like Wang Ziqing. Qin Feiyang mumbled. The grotto was dead silent. The churning magma gradually calmed down. Wang Ziqing did not appear. "Is he dead?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. The young man suddenly shouted, "Wang Ziqing, I don't believe you're so weak. Come out." Not only was he tall, his voice was also extremely loud, shaking Qin Feiyang's eardrums. "Big bull, I really can't hide anything from you." Splash! Wang Ziqing rushed out of the magma and stood in front of the young man. His face was full of anger. "Looks like you're very angry now. But didn't you sneak attack me like this back in the internal sea? I'm just returning an eye for an eye." The young man sneered. Wang Ziqing clenched his fists and said angrily, "That was a few years ago, and you still remember it. You're too narrow-minded. You still have the face to say that? If it was just once or twice, I wouldn't be bothered to argue with you. But you actually stabbed me in the back time and time again. This is unforgivable." The brawny young man roared. his anger burning the heavens. Can you blame me for that? You're stupid and don't remember. Wang Ziqing said helplessly. Bastard, I'm not stupid. I trust you and treat you like a brother. The young man roared like an angry beast and punched at Wang Ziqing. Qin Feiyang glanced at Wang Ziqing. This guy was indeed unreliable. Although he did not know what happened between Wang Ziqing and the young man, it was not difficult to tell from the young man's words that Wang Ziqing had betrayed his friend. When he saw the young man fly into a rage, Wang Ziqing did not take it head-on and dodged to the side, saying anxiously, "We're brothers after all. Is there a need to fight to the death the moment we meet? Brothers my ass." The young man spat in disdain and executed a mysterious footwork. In the blink of an eye, he appeared before Wang Ziqing and punched out furiously. A perfect support battle technique. Qin Feiyang's gaze narrowed. Damn it, you're serious. At the same time, Wang Ziqing's expression changed starkly as he executed a mysterious footwork without hesitation and dodged to the side. Boom! The young man punched the stone wall behind Wang Ziqing and created a huge hole. The entire cave began to tremble violently. Chapter 1002. It's also a perfect support-type battle art. Qin Feiyang dodged the falling rocks as he stared at Wang Ziqing and Wang Ziqing, his eyes flashing. Who were these two people? How could they both have perfect support-type battle arts? One had to know. Even in the Divine City and Main Pagoda, perfect support-type battle arts were very rare. Bang bang bang. Boom. Wang Ziqing and the brawny young man started a chase in the cave. But what puzzled Qin Feiyang was that not only were the two of them at the same cultivation level, but they also had perfect battle arts. In terms of strength, they were evenly matched. But Wang Ziqing had only been defending from the beginning and had never fought head-on. Could it be that this brawny young man was hiding some shocking method that made Wang Ziqing not dare to fight head-on? After a while, Wang Ziqing had a bitter face and said with a pleading tone, "Big Bull, I'll apologize to you, okay? Is this something that can be solved with an apology?" The brawny young man was so angry that he laughed. Wang Ziqing's temper also rose as he roared. "Then what do you want?" The brawny young man said, "Give me all the treasures you got here." "There's nothing here. How can there be treasures?" Wang Ziqing said angrily. "How can there be no treasures in the ruins left behind by a war emperor? Do you think I'm stupid? Selfish bastard, die for me." The brawny young man's hair shot into the heavens as he threw out another punch. His aura reached the rainbow and shook the entire island. "It's true, I'm not lying to you. Ask him if you don't believe me." Wang Ziqing anxiously pointed at Qin Feiyang. The brawny young man frowned, stopped in the air, and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said, "We really didn't find anything here." He was not lying. Previously, under the magma, he and Wang Ziqing had searched carefully, but they did not find anything. What kind of ruins is this if there are no treasures? The brawny young man scanned the cave, his rough face filled with anger. Wang Ziqing frowned. "Big Bull, shouldn't you be in the inner sea? Why are you here? Are you following me?" "Humph. Following you? You think too highly of yourself. I've discovered this ruin long ago, but I haven't been able to break the barrier at the entrance." The young man snorted coldly. Wang Ziqing said, "So you didn't stay in the inner sea after we separated last time?" "That's right. After we separated, I came here directly to find a way to break the barrier. But I haven't found any clues. Just as I was about to leave, you guys came. I thought that there would be some great treasure in here. But I didn't expect that there wouldn't even be a single strand of hair. What a waste of time." The muscular young man said. "I knew it." Qin Feiyang was deep in thought when the young man was telling the story. After the young man finished speaking, he immediately asked, "Did you hear it from that falcon?" "No. That falcon found out about it from me, because I was the first one to discover the ruins." The muscular young man said, "You discovered it?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "Don't tell me that you deliberately designed the falcon to tell me the location of the ruins?" Yes, I deliberately designed it. Because I can't do anything, I want you to try. But I only told it to tell you. But I didn't expect that bastard to secretly follow me. Originally, I was quite unhappy. But on second thought, why don't I take advantage of this opportunity to kill him here? The muscular young man looked at Wang Ziqing and sneered. Wang Ziqing was furious and shouted, "You bastard! You actually plan to kill me? So what?" The muscular young man looked at him provocatively. Okay, I'll play with you today." Wang Ziqing was so angry that he laughed, and his aura suddenly erupted. "Come on, I'm not afraid of you." The muscular young man laughed angrily, and the muscles all over his body exploded, filled with a destructive force. "Okay, I'll send you to hell today," Wang Ziqing growled, and with a surging aura, he charged toward the muscular young man. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang quickly retreated to the side. The battle between the two was not something he could participate in. However, just when Qin Feiyang thought that the two of them would definitely fight until the sky turned dark, Wang Ziqing suddenly turned in the air and rushed into the tunnel like lightning. After that, he rushed towards the deep sea outside without even looking back. What's going on? Running away without fighting? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The muscular young man was also dumbfounded. Haha. Big bull, do you think I'm stupid to fight you head-on? I don't have the energy. I'm going to pick up girls, goodbye. Wang Ziqing's complacent laughter echoed in the tunnel. Bastard, don't run. The muscular young man was immediately furious and chased after Wang Ziqing. That's it. Qin Feiyang's expression was strange. Why did he feel that the relationship between these two was like his relationship with Wang Yuer? These two are really the best. He shook his head, glanced at the grotto in disappointment, and also flew toward the tunnel. He came here full of expectations, but he did not expect to return disappointed. His efforts were in vain. Qin Feiyang, wait. But suddenly, a voice entered Qin Feiyang's ears. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang stopped and lowered his head to look at the spirit snake emperor coiled around his wrist. This emperor seems to have found something. After the spirit snake emperor finished speaking, it flew out and floated somewhere on the left side of the grotto. Its ethereal little eyes kept scanning the stone wall in front of it. Qin Feiyang turned around and saw that there was a broken hole in the wall in front of the spirit snake emperor. It was the result of the punch from the muscular young man. He walked over suspiciously and stood beside the spirit snake emperor to observe it closely, but he did not find anything strange. Just when he was about to ask, the spirit snake emperor suddenly raised its head and looked at the top of the hole. The rocks there were also broken. There is indeed a problem. A few seconds later, a light flashed across the spirit snake emperor's eyes. What problem? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Shua! The spirit snake emperor flew up, raised its tail, and pointed at the broken rock, saying, "Come and take a look. Is there a ray of light that is different from the magma in this crack?" Different light from the magma? Qin Feiyang was startled, and hurriedly flew to the side of the spirit snake emperor and looked over. Yeah, soon. A trace of surprise crept up in his eyes. Between the cracks of this rock, there was indeed a ray of light of a different color. This grotto had been burned by the magma all year round, and had long turned red. However, the light that seeped out from the cracks of the rock was white. It was just that it was very weak. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to find it. Could it be that there is something hidden inside? Qin Feiyang looked at the spirit snake emperor. Could it be the treasure left behind by the war emperor? The spirit snake emperor also looked at Qin Feiyang. Immediately, the man and the snake were both in high spirits. Qin Feiyang immediately raised his hand, placed it on the rock, and shook it forcefully. Boom! Accompanied by a low and deep sound, a large piece of rock instantly shattered. A bright cave immediately appeared in front of Qin Feiyang and the spirit snake emperor. At the same time, a terrifying stream of heat surged out from the cave. This heat current was actually countless times more terrifying than the temperature of the magma. Even the 9 stars war sex spirit snake emperor could not withstand it. Qin Feiyang immediately activated a battle chi barrier to protect the spirit snake emperor. Following closely, Qin Feiyang and the spirit snake emperor scanned the cave in front of them. The cave was about 50 to 60 feet tall, and a palm-sized flame floated in the middle. However, this flame was different from other flames. This flame was completely white like a bone flame. It was clearly emitting an extremely high temperature, but it gave off a gloomy and cold feeling. And the light they saw outside was the light emitted by this pill fire. Below the flame, there was a jade box lying quietly on the ground, covered in a thick layer of dust. Other than that, there was nothing else in the cave. Qin Feiyang and the Spirit Snake Emperor looked at each other, and both of them rushed into the cave and landed in front of the white flame. The temperature is so high, it should be a pill fire, right? The Spirit Snake Emperor looked at it for a while and said suspiciously, "Let's give it a try. If we can sign a blood contract, it will definitely be a pill fire." Qin Feiyang cut his finger, and drops of purple gold dragon blood continuously flowed towards the white flame. A moment later, the flame suddenly emitted a wisp of blood light. Seeing this situation, Qin Feiyang and the Spirit Snake Emperor were overjoyed, because this was the sign of a successful blood contract. After successfully signing the blood contract, a wave of information also entered Qin Feiyang's mind. At that moment, his body trembled, and a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. "What is it?" The Spirit Snake Emperor looked at him in surprise. Qin Feiyang said excitedly, "This is a pill fire, and it's a 7th grade pill fire." "What?" The Spirit Snake Emperor was dumbfounded. Their luck was too heaven-defying. How long had it been since they came to Qinghai, and they actually encountered a 7th grade pill fire? "I didn't expect it, I really didn't expect it." Qin Feiyang laughed heartily. Now, as long as he could get the 7th grade pill fire in the internal sea, he would only need one more. It seemed that it wouldn't be long before the Nether Devil Flame could be upgraded to the 8th grade. Sure enough, luck was on his side, and he couldn't stop it. Then, Qin Feiyang bent down again and grabbed the jade box on the ground. If the pill fire was 7th grade, then the thing in the jade box must be even more amazing. He couldn't wait to open it. However, he was surprised to find that he couldn't open the jade box. "What's going on?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. The Spirit Snake Emperor's eyes were also full of surprise. Qin Feiyang tried a few more times and simply put it away, and said to the Spirit Snake Emperor, "We'll study this later, quickly look for other things." One man and one snake immediately got up in the cave. "Hey, come and see, what's this white powder?" After a few breaths, the Spirit Snake Emperor's surprised voice suddenly sounded. Qin Feiyang hurried over and looked down at the ground, which was covered with a layer of white powder. He squatted on the ground, stretched out his index finger, dipped it with the tip of his finger, put it on the tip of his nose and sniffed, and suddenly frowned. "Can you smell it?" the Spirit Snake Emperor asked. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "This is the ashes of a person who should be the owner of this pill fire." "I see." The Spirit Snake Emperor suddenly lost interest, but suddenly seemed to think of something, and said, "Since he died here, his Qinquan bag should also be here. Why don't I see it? The temperature here is so high. Even if there was a Qinquan bag, it would have been burned to ashes." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. "That's right." The Spirit Snake Emperor nodded, and then turned its head to look elsewhere. Chapter 1003. But in the end, it ended in disappointment. In the cave, there were no other secret rooms or compartments. There were no other treasures. However, Qin Feiyang was content. Not to mention what was in the jade box. Just the 7th grade pill fire. This trip to Qinghai was not in vain. Whoosh! Putting away the 7th grade pill fire, a man and a snake rushed out of the cave. The Phantom Snake Emperor turned into an exquisite jade bracelet and wrapped around Qin Feiyang's wrist. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a stream of battle chi rushed into the cave. The cave immediately collapsed. The ashes would be buried here forever. "It's time to leave," Qin Feiyang whispered, then turned and rushed into the tunnel, flying out of the sea like lightning. In fact, this time, although it was the Phantom Snake Emperor who found the cave, the real person who should be grateful was that blockhead. After all, if it wasn't for that blockhead who smashed the stone wall with one punch, the Phantom Snake Emperor would have found the cave. Along the way, Qin Feiyang could clearly sense the aura of Wang Zicheng and the other man. A moment later, he finally rushed out of the tunnel and entered the deep sea. The water avoidance pearl was glowing with a dim luster, isolating all the water pressure. Then, he waved his hand again, collapsed the tunnel, and rushed to the sea. Boom! Splash! Very soon, he immediately sensed a series of powerful ripples of battle. Whoosh! 10 breaths passed. Finally, Qin Feiyang rushed out of the sea and stood in the sky, looking at the island in front of him. He saw Wang Zicheng and the young man fighting in the air above the island. The terrifying aura was earth-shattering, the nearby sea waves were monstrous, and the island was about to be torn apart. As for the ferocious beasts on the island, they had already fled. Big barbarian bull, are you done yet? Wang Zicheng shouted. He was still defending, and looked very embarrassed. I said that I will tear you apart today. The young man's aura was like thunder, and an invisible force roared in all directions. He was like a giant spirit god, and his every move could shake the sky. Damn! Do you really think that I can't do anything to you? Tai Ching illusion! Wang Zicheng roared at the sky, and another Wang Zicheng appeared beside him. The two kings grew up to be exactly the same. Even their behavior and strength were the same. Those who didn't know would definitely think that the two of them were twins. Beat him up. Following closely, with a low roar, the two Wang Zicheng moved together, attacking the young man from the left and right. Faced with the storm-like attacks of the two Wang Zicheng, the muscular young man was a little flustered. A short while later, his body was riddled with wounds. Is this a cloning technique? Spirit Serpent Emperor was bewildered. Qin Feiyang was silent, but his eyes were extremely solemn. The brawny young man's battle prowess was obvious to all, and could not be underestimated. However, Wang Zicheng's strength was also somewhat astonishing. The strength displayed by the doppelganger was in no way inferior to Wang Zicheng's real body. In other words, the young man was now facing two Wang Zicheng at his peak. Boom! Puff! After a dozen breaths of intense battle, the youth was sent flying by Wang Zicheng's avatar with a single palm strike, causing him to wildly vomit blood. However, when the brawny young man stabilized his body, he grinned without the slightest fear. Your Tai Ching illusion is still as headache-inducing as ever. However, you should also know my strength. The Tai Ching illusion is useless against me. King Ming Celestial Phenomenon. At the end of his words, the brawny young man suddenly roared towards the sky. A shocking scene appeared. His 2-meter-tall body began to grow with the wind. In the blink of an eye, a 5-meter-tall giant appeared. The muscles all over his body were like a dragon, releasing a destructive aura. Have a taste of my fist. The brawny young man waved his millstone-sized fist and furiously smashed it towards Wang Zicheng. Wang Zicheng's expression changed as he quickly retreated. However, the doppelganger was shattered by the brawny young man's punch. Puff! Wang Zicheng spat out a mouthful of blood and said angrily, I'll ask you one last time. Do you really want to fight to the death today? Do I look like I'm joking? The brawny young man punched again, and a terrifying force shook the surroundings. It was simple and violent. All right. Then don't blame me for being impolite. Azure Dragon Seal. Wang Zicheng's gaze turned cold as he once again used the Tai Ching illusion, and another doppelganger appeared. Following that, the original body and the doppelganger raised their hands at the same time, and placed them in front of their chests to form seals. A destructive aura quickly rolled out from between their hands, destroying everything in all directions. Azure Dragon Seal. The brawny young man's gaze froze, and his expression became extremely solemn. It was obvious that he was also quite afraid of Wang Zicheng's move. These two people are too terrifying. They are strong enough to be considered heroes below the War Emperor. The Spirit Snake Emperor said in a low voice. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded. If the War Emperor did not appear, no one would be able to take them down. They were two true invincible kings. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang seemed to have discovered something. As he turned to look at the other side of the island, he immediately saw a group of people rushing over. How did they find this place? Qin Feiyang was bewildered as a cold light flashed in his eyes, because the person in the lead was the white-haired old man. At the same time, the white-haired old man and the others also entered the island and stood in the distance, watching the battle between Wang Ziqing and the brawny young man. It's them. Wang Ziqing naturally also noticed the white-haired old man and frowned slightly, but the white-haired old man did not recognize Wang Ziqing, because Wang Ziqing's current appearance had become old. Why do I feel a sense of familiarity from the aura he's emitting? However, among the group of people behind the white-haired old man, someone noticed something strange. That's right. I remember now. His aura is exactly the same as the person who helped Ancestor Mu escape. But that's not right. Wasn't it a young man who helped Ancestor Mu escape? The group of people were bewildered. No, it's him. His appearance can be changed, but his aura is very difficult to change. Furthermore, the way you look at him is exactly the same as that person's. The white-haired old man looked at Wang Ziqing seriously for a moment, and killing intent flashed in his old eyes. In that case, it really is him. So it's him who's fighting with someone. Is Ancestor Mu also nearby? The group of people immediately scanned their surroundings. Finally, the white-haired old man discovered Qin Feiyang, who was standing in the air above the sea, and a trace of coldness crept up his old face. I'll kill him alone. You guys go and help that burly man kill that person. Immediately, the white-haired old man ordered, and with a murderous aura, he swept towards Qin Feiyang. The other 31 9-star battle saints also immediately charged towards Wang Ziqing. Oh no, I've been recognized. Seeing this, Wang Ziqing's heart trembled. He hurriedly looked at the burly young man and said anxiously, "Big barbarian bull, we're in trouble. Quickly stop." The burly young man glanced at the 31 9-star battle saints who were charging towards him. He raised his thick eyebrows and shouted, "All of you get lost. Don't misunderstand. We're here to help you." A middle-aged man smiled kindly. "Do I still need your help? This is a personal grudge between me and him. Get lost immediately." The burly young man roared. His voice was like thunder, shaking the ears of the group of people. "You don't know what's good for you. Kill the two of them together." The middle-aged man laughed sinisterly. The 31 9-star battle saints waved their arms in unison. Streaks of battle aura roared out, drowning the sky. "You're courting death." The burly young man was furious. He immediately abandoned Wang Ziqing and charged towards the 31 9-star battle saints. His entire body was boiling with battle intent, and there was not the slightest bit of fear. "Haha, big barbarian bull. I knew that you haven't forgotten about me, your brother. Today let's work together again and kill all these reckless fellows." Wang Ziqing laughed loudly, and also charged over with his doppelganger. "Who wants to work together with you? Just these pieces of trash, I alone am enough." The burly young man smiled disdainfully, displaying an incomparable domineering aura. Without a doubt, the 31 9-star battle saints were completely enraged. They were all 9-star battle saints, but he actually dared to call them trash. Too arrogant. At the same time, in the sky above the sea, Qin Feiyang looked at the white-haired old man approaching and snorted coldly. "You're really like a lingering spirit." The white-haired old man turned his head and glanced at Wang Ziqing and Wang Ziqing. He then looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered. "I have to thank the two of them. If they weren't fighting here, I wouldn't have known that you were hiding here." The white-haired old man originally planned to go to the inland sea and wait there. However, when he passed by the island, he suddenly felt the fluctuations of a battle here. Thus, he curiously came over to take a look. He didn't expect that Qin Feiyang would be here. Qin Feiyang frowned and shook his head with a smile. "Laugh while you still have time, because you won't be able to laugh soon." "Really?" The white-haired old man smiled playfully. Qin Feiyang glanced at Wang Ziqing and Wang Ziqing and said indifferently, "Didn't you notice their strength? The group of trash you brought isn't enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. You don't have to worry about that." The white-haired old man chuckled. He indeed didn't know the strength of Wang Ziqing and Wang Ziqing, but the 31 people he brought were all 9-star battle saints. 2 9-star battle saints against 31 9-star battle saints. Even if the two of them were heaven-defying, they still had no chance of winning. "Is that so? Then let's wait and see," Qin Feiyang said. "Wait and see? You're too naive. Do you think I'll give you a chance to struggle at death's door?" The white-haired old man's speed became faster and faster. His emperor's aura also emerged and rushed toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and he suddenly said, Guo Xiangzhong. The white-haired old man's body suddenly trembled, and a trace of surprise flashed across his eyes. It's really you, Qin Feiyang sneered. Although the white-haired old man didn't respond directly, his reaction was enough to prove everything. I don't know what you're talking about. The white-haired old man's killing intent surged. No matter what, he had to eliminate this kid today. Otherwise, the Qilin tribe would face a great disaster. However, at this moment, cries of agony echoed in the sky. The white-haired old man was shocked, and immediately turned his head to look. His face immediately turned pale with fright. He saw that the tribesmen he brought were as vulnerable as dead wood in front of Wang Zicheng and Wang Zicheng. No, that was simply a massacre. Chapter 1004. This feels great. Wang Zicheng was delighted. Previously, because of the white-haired old man, he could not fight as freely as he did now. Of course, the burly young man was also a huge factor. Both of them were invincible kings, and could share a lot of his burden. Am I someone to be trifled with? Obviously not. All of you go to hell and repent. Wang Zicheng's hair fluttered in the wind. He was like a god of death, venting the anger in his heart. One had to know. Not long ago, when they escaped, he had burned half of his lifespan. Although he did not seem to care, his heart ached for it. Most importantly, he felt very embarrassed when he escaped in a sorry state. Therefore, he wanted to pay back 10 times, 100 times. Why is it that the current him is different from before? Could it be that something happened before? Looking at Wang Zicheng's current appearance, the burly young man was full of doubts. He knew Wang Zicheng too well. He had seen Wang Zicheng's current appearance more than once. It was obvious that he had used that forbidden skill. In other words, it was highly possible that these people had forced him to use the forbidden skill. Wang Zicheng shouted as he slaughtered in all directions. Big barbarian bull, they are all my prey. Hurry up and scram to the side. Bullshit. They are my prey. The burly young man shouted angrily. His 5-meter-tall body was filled with a destructive aura as he stomped in the air. 2 middle-aged men were directly stomped into meat patties and died on the spot. His methods were extremely cruel. Scoundrel, Wang Zicheng was not to be outdone. He used the perfect auxiliary skill and rushed to the front of a burly man. With one palm, he shattered the burly man's heart. At the same time, his doppelganger also used the same perfect support-type battle art and instantly killed one of them. They are simply 2 demons. Run. The remaining 9-star combat saints were scared out of their wits and frantically fled. Hee, isn't it too late to run now? Wang Zicheng smiled coldly and chased after them with his avatar. Scoundrel, you are hunting my prey. Don't blame me for turning hostile. The burly young man shouted angrily and used a mysterious footwork to chase after them. All of them have mastered perfect support-type battle arts. Who are they? The white-haired old man watched with trepidation. Were the young people of Qinghai so terrifying? Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and said, I told you, the people you brought are not enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. Who are they? The white-haired old man abruptly turned his head and stared at Qin Feiyang like a ferocious beast choosing its prey. Who they are is not important. What's important is that if you don't go and help, the trash you brought will all die. Qin Feiyang sneered. It's all right, because you will be buried with them. The white-haired old man was so angry that his hair stood on end. He rushed towards Qin Feiyang with a murderous look. Naive. The corners of Qin Feiyang's mouth curled up slightly. He turned into a stream of light and charged into the sea below. The white-haired old man followed him into the sea, but looking around, there was no trace of Qin Feiyang. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Where is he? Where are you hiding? Come out. The white-haired old man was so angry that his aura swept in all directions. The calm sea suddenly became turbulent, and huge waves covered the sky. At the same time, on the other side of the island, accompanied by 3 desperate screams, the 31 9-star battle saints were also completely annihilated. Their corpses floated in the void, and their blood dyed the sky red. Continue our battle. The young man did not stop at all, and immediately charged towards Wang Zicheng. I'm not free now. After Wang Zicheng said this, he turned around and flew towards the sea where Qin Feiyang was. What's going on? He's actually worried. What the hell? This selfish bastard is actually worried about others. Is he still the Wang Zicheng I know? The brawny young man was shocked. Then he also flew toward the sea. Boom. Splash. At this moment, the white-haired old man rushed out of the sea with monstrous anger. His eyes were firmly fixed on Wang Zicheng and Wang Zicheng. His clothes and long hair fluttered in the wind. Beneath his feet, the waves were surging. At this moment, he was like a demon king standing on the top of the waves, exuding a terrifying aura. Not good. Run! Wang Zicheng's pupils shrank. He immediately dispersed his doppelganger and turned to escape. The young man looked at the white-haired old man's eyes and could not help but be frightened. He fled with Wang Zicheng. Both of you will die. The white-haired old man let out a fierce roar. Like an arrow, he suddenly tore through the air. In just a few blinks of an eye, he was in front of Wang Zicheng and Wang Zicheng. The two of them braked and stopped in the void. They looked at the white-haired old man with gloomy faces. What should we do? The young man asked secretly. Wang Zicheng said, What else can we do? We can only rely on your forbidden technique. The young man raised his eyebrows and sneered. Don't you also have a forbidden technique? Why don't you activate it? You want to trick me? Trick your sister. If I could activate it, would I beg you? Wang Zicheng said angrily. The young man's heart skipped a beat as he sent a voice transmission. When did you activate the forbidden technique? Wang Zicheng said in a deep voice. Not long ago. In fact, it lasted for about 50 breaths. The young man's eyes widened and he said in shock and anger, 50 breaths? You really don't want to live anymore. Can you cut the crap now and kill him with your forbidden technique? Wang Zicheng roared anxiously. In the blink of an eye, the white-haired old man pointed his index finger in the air, and a resplendent battle chi appeared. It carried a bone-chilling killing intent as it roared towards Wang Zicheng and Wang Zicheng. Fuck. Seems like we'll have to fight with our lives on the line today. Blood burn. The young man gritted his teeth, and a scarlet blood mist rose from his body. Roar. Immediately after, his 5-meter-tall body expanded once more. However, he seemed to be in pain and let out a beast-like roar. However, the aura he exuded was increasing wildly. The white-haired old man was surprised, but his old face was instantly filled with a sneer as he said, There is an insurmountable gap between a war emperor and a war saint. No matter how hard you struggle, no matter how hard you try, you won't be able to block this old man's attack. After all, you are just an ant. Roar. The young man turned a deaf ear to him and continued to roar towards the sky. His aura also became more and more terrifying. Finally, his swollen body stopped. However, at this moment, his tall and sturdy body was more than 100 feet tall, as if a giant spirit god had descended. Old bastard, you're too arrogant. Immediately after, the young man punched down. Just his fist alone was like a small mountain. Boom. Accompanied by a deafening sound, the white-haired old man's battle chi was actually shattered by him. Damn, this is simply divine power. On the surface of the sea, a head popped out. It was Qin Feiyang. Seeing this scene, his eyes were filled with shock. A 9-star war saint was able to disperse the war emperor's battle chi with a single punch. How terrifying was this power? The white-haired old man was also dumbfounded and filled with disbelief. So what if you're a war emperor? If you provoke me, I'll still destroy you. The young man directly stomped towards the white-haired old man. It was as if he was possessed by a demon, domineering and overbearing. Then come and try. The white-haired old man sneered and quickly rushed up to the sky, slapping the young man's foot with his palm. The battle chi in his palm surged and with an unparalleled sharpness, it tore the flesh on the young man's foot into pieces. Roar. However, this aroused the young man's battle intent and anger. He roared and stomped down with all his might. The white-haired old man in the air was shocked to find that he could not block this force, and kept sinking down. Moreover, there was even a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. How is this possible? Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. This blockhead actually injured the white-haired old man? How strong was his power at this moment? Hee hee. Although we are all 9 Star Wars saints, once we put our lives on the line, we can still kill a 1-star war emperor. Because we are the Blue Sea's 10 heroes, the kings of the Blue Sea. No one can defeat us. Wang Ziqing stood in the air and looked down at the white-haired old man with an air of arrogance. What? Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. So these two were the Blue Sea's 10 heroes. No wonder they were so unbelievably strong. I don't care if you are the Blue Sea's 10 heroes or the Blue Sea's 10 dogs. Anyone who provokes me must die, the white-haired old man shouted. He clenched his 5 fingers into a fist and punched the young man's foot. Roar! Bang! The young man roared in pain, and his huge body fell down, smashing onto the island below. A few tall mountain ridges were instantly razed to the ground. Wang Ziqing raised his eyebrows. Old bastard! You have completely infuriated me. The young man roared and jumped up. His mountain-like fist smashed towards the white-haired old man crazily. An ant will always be an ant. Even if you have the strength to fight against the combat emperor, once I use my battle art, you will be nothing but a chicken or a dog. You won't be able to withstand a single blow. The white-haired old man landed on the broken ground and looked at the two with disdain. At the same time, he formed a seal with his hands in front of his chest. A shocking aura spread out. It was obvious that he was practicing some kind of battle art. Hey! Did you forget about me? Before the white-haired old man could finish his words, a sneer sounded behind him. When did he go over? Qin Feiyang stared at Wang Ziqing in disbelief. He was still in the air just a moment ago. How did he suddenly appear behind the white-haired old man? Moreover, he was holding a dagger in his hand that was shining coldly. However, when he saw the blood mist rising from Wang Ziqing's body, he understood. Wang Ziqing had also activated the forbidden skill. But there was another problem. Wang Ziqing needed the correct posture and chant to activate the forbidden skill, right? But he didn't see Wang Ziqing preparing for it just now. The white-haired old man was also in disbelief. This speed was too ridiculously fast, wasn't it? Even he didn't notice it? The big bull is just a cover. I am the one who is going to take your life. Wang Ziqing's eyes were filled with killing intent. The dagger in his hand directly pierced into the white-haired old man's sea of energy. Ah! The white-haired old man instantly screamed. His old face was filled with hatred and indignation. Even if I die, I will drag you down to hell with me. The combat emperor was a combat emperor after all. Even if his sea of energy was destroyed and his cultivation was lost, he didn't give up resisting. He suddenly turned around and slammed his palm towards Wang Ziqing's chest. Heh! Wang Ziqing grinned. He moved his feet slightly and retreated a few feet away. The white-haired old man missed his attack and lost his balance. He fell to the ground, looking extremely pathetic. So powerful. Chapter 1006. Crack. Chang Shui was invincible. The crack on the jade box was getting bigger and bigger. Buzz! Suddenly, wisps of 5-colored divine light shot out from the crack. It was extremely dazzling. Moreover, there was a strong fragrance spreading out. What is it? In an instant, everyone in the castle opened their eyes and looked at the jade box in surprise. Because the fragrance was too special. It was not a medicinal fragrance, nor was it a fragrance. It was a very strong fruit fragrance. Furthermore, smelling this fruity aroma made one feel relaxed and refreshed, making one feel comfortable all over. Qin Feiyang became more and more careful, because it was obvious that there might be some kind of fruit in the jade box. And one thing for sure was that it was definitely not an ordinary fruit. After all, if it was just an ordinary fruit, the jade box would not be sealed so tightly. Crack! Dozens of breaths later, Qin Feiyang finally cut the jade box in half. And just as the jade box was open, beams of intense 5-colored divine light illuminated the whole castle. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at the contents of the jade box with bewilderment in their eyes. Inside the jade box, there were 3 fruits that were about the size of an egg. They were multicolored and emitted a strong fruity fragrance. What kind of fruit is this? I don't think I've seen it before. Wolf King was suspicious. The double-winged snow eagle said, I've never seen it before either. Swish. Then, everyone looked at Qin Feiyang. As the son of an emperor, Qin Feiyang had read a lot of books since he was young. He definitely knew what kind of fruit it was. Qin Feiyang looked at everyone and shook his head. Don't look at me. I don't know either. What? Even you don't know? Everyone looked at each other. Qin Feiyang grabbed a fruit, looked at it for a moment and said, But these 3 fruits don't look like something that will take people's lives. Don't mess around. Although they look harmless, who knows if that's the case? If there is a strong poison hidden in them, the loss will outweigh the gain. Lu Hong quickly grabbed Qin Feiyang's wrist and advised. There was a saying that the more beautiful something was, the more one had to be careful. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Don't worry, I won't act recklessly. Wolf King rolled his eyes and looked at the 2-winged snow eagle. He smiled and said, Old eagle, why don't you give it a try? Scram. The double-winged snow eagle glared at Wolf King. Wasn't he using it as a lab rat? Lu Hong said, Why don't we ask Li He? He's the manager of the trading pavilion and has seen a lot. Maybe he knows the origin of this fruit. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded and took out an image crystal. Wang. A short while later, Yan Wei's illusory figure appeared. Looking at the people in the castle, Yan Wei smiled and said, Everyone is here. The 2-winged snow eagle teased. Old Yen, you've been eating and drinking at the trading pavilion every day. Even I can't help but envy you. If I had to choose, I'd rather follow you outside and take risks. Yan Wei smiled bitterly, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, What's the matter? Qin Feiyang nodded and said, Go find Li He immediately. I have something to ask him. Okay. Yan Wei turned off the image crystal. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at the fruit while waiting for Yan Wei's message. Wang. About 10 breaths later, the image crystal in Qin Feiyang's hand suddenly made a sound. It's coming. Everyone looked at the image crystal impatiently. Calm down, don't be so impatient. Qin Feiyang looked at everyone, shook his head and smiled. He then mobilized a trace of battle qi and poured it into the image crystal. At the same time, Lu Hong and the others also quickly retreated to a corner to avoid being discovered by Li He. Soon, 2 figures appeared. It was Yan Wei and Li He. Li He laughed and said, Little brother, this is the first time you've taken the initiative to look for me. It's rare. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, It's because you're busy and I don't want to disturb you. Li He rolled his eyes and said, Don't say such polite words. Just say it. What do you want to ask? Qin Feiyang raised his hand, and the 5-colored fruit immediately appeared in front of Yan Wei and Li He. What's this? Li He looked at the fruit and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, That's what I want to ask. Do you know what fruit this is? Li He was stunned. He looked at the fruit carefully for a moment and shook his head. I've never seen it before. Even you haven't seen it before? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. This was a little unbelievable. Li He smiled and said, I've never seen it before. But if you need, this old man can help you check it out. Where to check? Qin Feiyang asked. This old man remembers that the pavilion master has an ancient history book that records all kinds of rare treasures. Maybe there's information about this fruit. Li He said. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and said with a smile, Then I'll leave it to you. Is that it? Shouldn't you say something? Li He looked displeased. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. This was just a small matter, yet he still wanted him to express his gratitude. This old man was too worldly. He smiled playfully and asked, Then tell me, what do you want? Cough cough. Last time in the Fire Phoenix mountain range, this old man helped Yan Wei open the door of potential. Speaking of this, Li He didn't say anything. He laughed meaningfully, obviously thinking about the potential pill, and small creation pill. Yan Wei said with a dark face, Old Li, you're taking the opportunity to blackmail me. Li He stroked his beard and said with a smile, Blackmail? That doesn't exist. This is just an equivalent exchange. What a sanctimonious old fox. Chapter 1008. Send him away? Qin Feiyang was stunned. You may not know this, but among the 10 heroes of the Qinghai Sea, the bull isn't the strongest, but he's the most difficult to deal with. As long as he's here, the chances of us snatching the alchemy fire are less than 50%. Wang Ziqing said. Is he that difficult? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course. Didn't you see his forbidden technique? This forbidden technique of his allows him to possess extremely terrifying power. Let me put it this way. As long as he activates the forbidden technique, none of the 10 heroes of the Qinghai Sea will dare to fight with him. Wang Ziqing said. Qin Feiyang came to a sudden realization and said, No wonder you were always dodging when the two of you fought. In my current state, when he activates the forbidden technique, he can blast me into a meat patty with one punch. How can I not dodge? Wang Ziqing said. Qin Feiyang said helplessly, Well, I didn't understand what you meant. I apologize. What's the use of apologizing? Hurry up and catch up with him. Wang Ziqing rolled his eyes and turned into a stream of light, streaking across the sky like lightning. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. These 10 heroes of the Qinghai Sea were indeed hiding something. Buzz! Just as he was about to chase after him, the image crystal suddenly vibrated. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. A shadow quickly appeared. It was Fatso. Fatso's face was full of anxiety. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang asked. Fatso said in a deep voice, Something bad happened. Li He and Shen Feiyun were killed. What? Qin Feiyang's body trembled. He hurriedly asked, When did it happen? Last night. Fatso said. Qin Feiyang said in shock and anger. How could this be? Didn't I ask Yin Wei to keep an eye on Fu Anshan? Fatso said. It's not Fu Anshan who killed them. Then who? Qin Feiyang said. You. Fatso said. Me. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He said. I was in Qinghai. How could I kill them? Besides, I don't have the ability to do so. Fatso said. Of course, Fat Lord knows it's not you. But someone saw you at the scene of the incident with their own eyes. Who? Qin Feiyang said. Fatso shook his head. I don't know. This person is very well hidden. After he spread the news, he disappeared without a trace. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. No matter what, we must find this person. The person who killed Li He and Shen Feiyun was definitely the person who spread the news. Even if it wasn't him, he knew who the real culprit was. I will continue to investigate. But now, everyone believes that you did it. Not only has the Chief Pagoda Master personally given the order to find you, but even Li He's children have been searching all over for you. Furthermore, the Transaction Pavilion's Pavilion Master has also issued a kill order for you. Fatso said. It doesn't matter much.